All heavens. Pick up cards starting from Naruto. Chapter 21. Only Asuka, Minato and Kushina knew where Orochimaru was, and no one knew what he was doing. When Sarutobi Hiruzen and others asked, Minato just said that Orochimaru was imprisoned by him and sent many Anbu Junin to guard him. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little worried, considering that he had never personally done those things, he put it aside for the time being. But there is someone who cannot be as calm as Sarutobi Hiruzen. That person is Shimura Danzo, the former Hokage assistant. The reason why Orochimaru was exposed was because he deliberately disclosed the information, and Orochimaru knew almost everything he had done over the years. Hence, Danzo had no doubts about whether Orochimaru would surrender himself. So after receiving this news, Konoha's huge underground roots were already in motion. Everyone, listen up, your mission tonight is to rescue Orochimaru. Summoning all the root staff, Danzo began to lay out the plan. His dream is to become Hokage. If what happened before is exposed, let alone becoming Hokage, he might not be able to survive. After thinking about it, Danzo realized that he had to rescue Orochimaru. Even if you can't do it, at least kill him. After a while, Danzo arranged tasks for his men, and then secretly left Konoha alone. At the same time, he kept thinking about his plan, trying to find flaws in it. First of all members of the Roots gathered together, a total of 12 Junin to implement the rescue plan, and hundreds of Chunin were secretly distributed in Konoha, preparing to respond to these people. The remaining thousands of genin pretended to be Anbu after the rescue was successful, creating chaos in Konoha and making it more difficult for Anbu to track them. However, there is a premise for all of this, that is, someone must attract Minato's attention and lead him out of Konoha. Otherwise, with his speed and strength, none of these root personnel would survive. If he had enough time, Danzo would definitely find someone to cooperate with him, or hire some wandering ninjas to carry out the task. Unfortunately, time does not allow it now, so he can only do it himself to attract Minato out. In order to clear himself of suspicion, a member of the family had already disguised himself as him and returned to the Shimura clan's territory. After thinking about it several times, Danzo was sure that his rescue plan could be implemented. Although Minato and others will definitely doubt themselves, Danzo has nothing to fear as long as they cannot produce substantive evidence. While thinking, Danzo had already left Konoha. After waiting quietly for half an hour, Danzo turned into a stranger. Wind escape, big breakthrough. Wind release, vacuum jade. After successfully casting the transformation technique, he immediately flashed his hands, and a total of 5 or 6 wind escape ninjutsus roared out and hit the streets of Konoha. The next moment, without even glancing at the damage he had caused, Danzo turned around and walked away from Konoha. It's just that his speed was maintained at the level of a Junin. Boom. In the Hokage's office, Minato, who was working overtime, changed his face when he heard the explosion. He put down the documents in his hands and shouted to the door, "All Anbu come with me." As he spoke, 18 masked figures appeared in the Hokage's office. Seeing that the gathering of people was completed, Minato no longer hesitated and chased out with everyone. In just a moment, they spotted Danzo's retreating back. Although they did not recognize the man, this did not prevent them from pursuing him. "I'll catch up first, you guys come over here as soon as possible." After saying a word, Minato's speed suddenly increased, instantly closing the direct distance between him and Danzo, leaving the Anbu behind. At this time, he had left Konoha, and Danzo's first step of his plan was completed. After hearing the noise in Konoha, someone has been observing the Hokage's office. After seeing Minato leaving, he hurriedly returned to the Roots. "Your Excellency's plan has been successful, the rest is up to us." Yes. A total of 12 Junin arrived at Konoha prison and rushed forward without saying a word. Hardly anyone in the Roots knows anyone, and they are not afraid of being recognized after changing their clothes. Anyway, there are so many restrictions on them, no one can know their identities even if they die. Coming. In Konoha prison, Kushina suddenly opened her eyes and said to Chenshin, who was resting with her eyes closed. Chen Tian stretched and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Kill them." As soon as the words fell, Orochimaru, who was as silent as a poisonous snake, rushed out in an instant. That's right, all this was Chen Tian's plan. Originally, he was too lazy to care about Konoha's mess. But since the Hokage is his eldest brother now, Chenshin will not mind chopping off anyone who dares to stretch out his claws. Among them, Shimura Danzo is the first target. Although it is impossible to kill him directly, there is still no problem in destroying most of the roots. Around Konoha prison, Kushina has already arranged the sealing technique. No matter how loud the sound is here, it cannot be heard outside. When Orochimaru and Kushina attacked at the same time, the 12-root Junin were unable to resist, and were crushed by the two of them. Looking at the cards on the ground that shone alluringly, Chen Tian was salivating, but he couldn't afford to pick one up. This made Chenshin fall into depression for once. But now is not the time to think about this, the most important thing is the next thing. Uncle Snake, collect all their bodies and show them to the villagers tomorrow. There are so many unknown ninjas breaking into Konoha. If it weren't for the 4th Hokage, Konoha doesn't know how many people would have died. You are really ruthless, you even use dead people. Even so, Orochimaru's hands were not slow at all, and he quickly put away these corpses. Yes, Orochimaru is not a traitor now, he is still one of the 3 ninjas of Konoha. How could Chenshin let a scientific research talent like Orochimaru become a rebel ninja? In Chenshin's eyes, let alone human experimentation, even if Orochimaru destroyed one of the 5 great ninja villages, he would still accept Orochimaru. His value is even more important than the protagonist Uzumaki Naruto, because Orochimaru is a being who can change the world of ninjas. As a modern person who has received a complete 9-year compulsory education, Chenshin is very dissatisfied with the world. There are countless people who starve to death every day, and any genin can do whatever he wants in front of ordinary people. It's so simple. With Orochimaru in hand, Chenshin can start to develop Konoha, and use economic and trade methods to subtly bring the world closer to the past life. Not long after Chenshin's end, Minato, who was chasing Danzo, also came back, but he came back empty-handed. Danzo, who was afraid of death, had too many backup options, and Minato couldn't do anything about it for a while. Of course, the main reason was that Minato was unwilling to kill people in his own village, so he showed mercy. When things got to this point, Chenshin said hello to Kushina and went home to sleep. Minato and Orochimaru could handle the rest. He is still a 6-year-old child now. If he continues to stay up late to cultivate immortality like this, he may not be able to grow taller in the future. Chen Tian cannot tolerate this. Early the next morning, Minato summoned everyone in Konoha and threw out the corpses of the 12 Jonin at the root. Without Minato saying anything himself, a white-haired Junin from Anbu had already jumped out and started telling the story to the villagers. Last night, 12 unknown Junin broke into Konoha, intending to cause massacres in Konoha and weaken Konoha's strength. But the 4th Hokage discovered these people in time, and together with Mrs. Hokage, these people were killed. Ninja kill. Because these ninjas are targeting the villagers, the 4th Hokage decided to destroy these corpses in front of all the villagers. If you find anyone suspicious in the future, you must report it in time so that the 4th Hokage can deal with it in time and protect our safety. This speech was so emotional that Chen Tian nodded repeatedly. Originally, he thought that the effect of having Kakashi, who was paralyzed, to give a speech was not very good, but who knew that this white-haired kid was actually an actor. This effect is beyond Chen Tian's expectation. This scene was something Chen Tian thought about for a long time. Minato had almost no prestige when he first came to power. Your reputation on the battlefield only showed your strength, but in the position of Hokage, Minato had nothing. So, the corpses of these 12 Junin can definitely enhance Minato's reputation. In addition, most of the big families in Konoha know what happened to these corpses, and they can also use this to shock them into putting their little thoughts aside. Since Minato can kill the 12 Junin at his base, he can also kill the patriarch of their family. What a pity, I didn't see Danzo. After looking around, he didn't see the person he wanted to see. Chen Tian felt that his happiness was gone. However, what made him more relieved was that Minato told him that Danzo knew the result after returning last night, vomited 3 kilograms of blood on the spot, and then passed out. Presumably after this incident, those thoughtful people can calm down. Actually, Minato himself is unwilling to do this, but Chenshin knows that if you do something good, people must know it. Otherwise, what's the difference from not doing it? That's why he used the name of alerting the villagers to publicize Watergate's great achievements. As expected, after knowing the whole story, the villagers in the audience cheered. After all the villagers left, Minato, Kushina, Chenshin and Kakashi returned to the Hokage's office. As soon as this was done, Orochimaru came in quietly. Chen Tianjin, I don't know when the 100 million taels you mentioned will be available. My laboratory is no longer available. Yes, Chenshin had promised to spend 100 million to build a laboratory for Orochimaru. Of course, there are other conditions besides this, but there is no need to explain them for now. A dozen centimeters worth of banknotes were lined up in front of Orochimaru, and Chen Tian's casual voice sounded at the same time. It's only a mere 100 million, and I won't deny it to you, so why are you in a hurry? Looking at the words, 10,000, written on the silver coins, not only Orochimaru, but also Minato and Kushina were shocked. Shaoshin, where did you get so much money? Whether it was because of his big heart or because he was used to the magic of the morning sky, Minato quickly calmed down. But he was still very curious. He had to know that Konoha as a whole only had 500 million in expenses a year. Seeing the three people's ignorant expressions, Chen Tian couldn't help but shook his head. These guys are 3 shadow-level experts, but they don't even have such a small amount of money. It's really pitiful. However, he did not continue to whet the appetites of the three of them, and said, do you know about Enduring the Sky? I wrote it. Now it has been sold to the Kingdom of Water. Waving his hands, Chen Tian made a show of his cards. After more than a year, Ending the Sky has been completely written and has become a big hit. Even the Water Country, which is the most difficult to trade, has his book, let alone other countries. Now walking on the streets of Konoha, from time to time you can hear some children shouting, 30 years to the east of the river, 30 years to the west of the river, don't bully young people into poverty. After putting on a good display in front of the 3 shadow-level powerhouses, a refreshed Chen Tian took the lead to leave. The people who want to engage in Watergate have been frightened, and Chen Tian can retire with success. Now he still has his own things to do and needs to study what is going on in the system. Now the Junin is strong enough to protect himself, but after more than 10 years, the Junin will be the same as cannon fodder. After returning home, I immediately called up the system panel and started checking it. Host, Chenshin, Strength, 200, Speed, 200, Physique, 200, Spirit, 200, Chakra, 5000. Note, the 5 attributes of the host have reached the current physical limit. After the physical potential is increased, the host can continue to pick up physical attributes. Talent, Space Talent LV3, Taijutsu, Shuriken Basic LV10, Full Level Basic Taijutsu LV10, Full Level Konoha Great Whirlwind LV4, Portable Space LV1. Ninjutsu, Go Fireball Technique LV6, Earth Flow Wall Technique LV5, Earth Dragon Bullet Technique LV5, Substitute Technique LV10, Full Level Reikiri LV1, Big Explosive Water Wave LV7, Water Formation Wall LV5, Water Dragon Bullet LV4, Instant Body Technique LV6, Tailed Beast Jade LV1. After pondering for a long time, Chen Tian determined that the problem appeared in the sentence. Note, the host's 5 attributes have reached the current physical limit. After the body's potential is increased, it can continue to pick up physical attributes. His attributes have now reached the limit of this body, which means that the potential has been exhausted. If you want to continue to improve your physical attributes, you can only find ways to improve your potential. What makes him embarrassed is that this is not a fantasy world, and there is nothing to improve the potential. Furthermore, the system did not give clear instructions, leaving Chen Tian a little confused. The only good news is that although his physical attributes cannot continue to improve, he can still pick up ninjutsu. But this is not what Chenshin wants. Forget it, there is nothing we can do now, we can only explore slowly. When he really couldn't think of a situation, Chen Tian didn't embarrass himself, but decided to maximize his ninjutsu proficiency first. Then look for opportunities to pick up more cards to improve your strength to some extent. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed since the last incident. During this period, several of Chen Tian's ninjutsu were perfected. Minato's position as Hokage has become more stable, and even Sarutobi Hiruzen rarely interferes. It can be said that he controls most of the power in Konoha and has the appearance of a Hokage. But Chenshin knows that these are only temporary, and those clowns will still jump out as long as there is a chance. In addition to these, Orochimaru built a laboratory not far from the Hokage building. Different from the past, this time the laboratory, under the supervision of Chen Tian, is majestic, just like a modern laboratory. Not only does it not feel oppressive after entering, it actually makes people curious. In the laboratory, Orochimaru was working various chemical and physical experiments, with an expression of surprise on his face. From time to time, he would pick up a few books next to him and take a look at them. The books had words like junior high school physics, junior high school chemistry, etc. written on them. Some of them may not be at the junior high school level, and some may even be at the university level. How are you doing? Do you have any idea? At this moment, Chen Tian put down the game console made by Orochimaru, and a sly look flashed in Chen Tian's eyes. Orochimaru said without looking back, "Okay, although I haven't fully understood it yet, my intuition tells me that there is the secret of immortality in it." This time it's Morning Sparta's turn. Why didn't I know that science can make people immortal? In order to keep Orochimaru, he promised to give Orochimaru a way to live forever. He thought that Orochimaru didn't know what science was anyway, so he could just lie and fool around. After that, he gave the technology of his previous life to Orochimaru and asked him to study it for the benefit of Konoha. I didn't expect that Orochimaru would dare to say this without even reading the textbook he wrote. If his memory is correct, even the advanced technology in his previous life couldn't seem to be able to do such a thing, right? But after thinking about it, Chen Tian felt relieved. Although science and technology in the past life was advanced, it has not reached its limit after all. No one knows what the end of science will be. Maybe the immortality Orochimaru said is possible. However, it may take a long time to accomplish such a thing, but Chenshin did not spoil Orochimaru's interest. He continued to research, and when various products appeared, Konoha didn't know how developed it would be. It is worth mentioning that Hirano-Lin, a three-tailed Jinchuriki, also joined the laboratory and became Orochimaru's assistant. Unknown to Chenshin, various coincidences happened in the ninja world, and all the plots outside Konoha that were destroyed by him began to be slowly repaired. With the loss of Hirano-Rin, Baizetsu transformed into the appearance of Hirano-Rin and successfully deceived Obito Uchiha into turning on the kaleidoscope. After that, Uchiha Madara broke into Kurikage village with the heretic golem, took control of Yagura and erased his memory. Not long after leaving Kurikage village, Uchiha Madara went to Wonkwan, with Obito monitoring Nagato for him. But Madara didn't notice that a civilian accidentally saw all this when he was leaving. After learning the secret, he was going to report it to the ninja-sama, but as he walked, he forgot what he saw, and then forgot where he was going. Scratching the back of his head in confusion, the civilian staggered back home. Not long after, Uchiha Obito, who was dazzled by hatred, came to Kurikage village, and everything returned to the original track. With the efforts of Black Zetsu and Uchiha Madara, the news about Hirano-Lin was completely concealed. It's just that the same thing didn't happen in Konoha where Chen Tian was, and he doesn't know these situations yet. During this period, Chenshin and Minato were at the height of their power in Konoha, and every poor person thought of them. After Minato took power, Chen Tian modified the mission of Konoha Ninja. Now there are often ninjas in Konoha to accept agricultural tasks such as watering and plowing the ground. It is easy and safe, and the pay is not low. This policy is deeply loved by those weak chunin. Water and use water escape, turn over the ground and use earth escape. Listening to the exclaimed civilians around me, I felt unusually satisfied. This resulted in the ninjas of Konoha almost integrating with the civilians, and class concepts began to slowly dissipate, which made Minato happy for a long time. Besides this, there is Konoha's financial problem. Because in just 1 month, Minato discovered that it seemed, maybe Konoha no longer needed military expenditures from the daimyo, and could be completely self-sufficient. Under such circumstances, Chenshin and Minato said hello and left Konoha. Although Konoha is prosperous now, these are only superficial, and the bones are still rotten. So he was going to get Tsunade and Jiraiya back, and then no one would dare to jump out. Okay, these words are a bit false. Chen Tian's real purpose was to find the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world to see if she could improve her physical potential. When Orochimaru was helpless, the only person he could think of was Tsunade. As for Jilai, it happened by the way. We met every day when we found it. Maybe the sage mode was picked up by him. Since he didn't know where Tsunade was now, Chenshin walked from city to city, trying to find out the whereabouts of the big fat sheep. His first stop is the capital of the Land of Fire. After arriving at the destination, he was not in a hurry. After having a good time here, he started to look for it in the casino. The result was as he expected, Tsunade was indeed not here. After inquiring about some information from the gamblers, Chen Tian continued on his way. But not long after leaving the city, Chen Tian found that he seemed to be being watched. Because there were too many people in the city, he could not find out who was targeting him, so he left the capital of the Land of Fire in a big way. Since I can't find you, let you jump out on your own. With this idea in mind, I would go wherever there are few people and the sky is clear. It wasn't until 10 miles away from the Kingdom of Fire that a person walked out in front of Chenshin. Kakuzu. Looking at the familiar attire of the visitor, Chen Tian was a little surprised. Except for the employee uniforms without the red clouds on a black background, the other aspects are exactly the same as the characters from the future. You actually know me. Although he was a little surprised, Kakuzu didn't have so much time and morning to waste, he still had to make money. He immediately said, "Since you know my reputation, I will show you the reason for your death." As he spoke, Kakuzu looked at Chen Tian with increasingly greedy eyes, as if he was seeing piles of banknotes. Although you are still a child, your head is worth a full 100 million. It is already the same as the shadow of the 5 great ninja villages. After finishing speaking, Kakuzu looked at Chenshin with interest, first to see how he would behave after knowing the news. Just a child, knowing that he is going to die soon, he will definitely cry a lot, right? Unexpectedly, Chen Tian's performance was completely beyond his expectation, and actually made him a little shocked. It's the same as the shadow of the 5 great ninja villages, so that's not bad. Chirp, chirp, Chenshin knows that he will be in trouble in the future. The influence of the 5 major ninja villages is so powerful and famous that basically no one dares to trouble them. But I am different. A 6-year-old child must be a favorite in the eyes of people like Angle. However, he doesn't care about the current crisis because he knows Angle's abilities too well. Although I only have the strength of a Jonin, it is enough to repel Angle on my own. You won't leave even if I ask you to, so come on. Water escape, water dragon bullet. As he spoke, Chenshin's hands brought up a phantom, and 44 seals were quickly formed. A water dragon more than 10 meters long suddenly appeared, with a hint of danger flashing in its crystal clear luster. This move was completely beyond Kakuzu's expectations. He didn't expect that a mere child could be so powerful and so decisive. This water dragon bullet jutsu has exceeded the strength of a Jonin. Either this kid's chakra is too huge or his control over this ninjutsu is extremely powerful. Just like the same ninjutsu, in the hands of ordinary ninjas and in the hands of Uchiha Madara are completely different concepts. But now he didn't have that much time to think, because the huge beast had already crashed into him mercilessly. Water escape, water formation wall. 2 escape, 2 Lubi. 2 woon, 2 Lu city wall. In the blink of an eye, Angle released 3 defensive ninjutsus one after another. If not for lack of time, he would have released several more. Boom. At this moment, the water dragon hit the water formation wall, and before it could hold on for even a second, the water formation wall was already broken. However, the water dragon, which was originally more than 10 meters long, has now become much smaller, almost only 10 meters long. Boom. Immediately afterwards, without any hesitation, the water dragon slammed into the earthen wall of Tuliubi again. Looking at the earth flow wall in front of him, Chen Tian curled his lips and muttered, "It doesn't even have a dog's head, bad review." The next moment, there was a bang, and another him appeared on the spot, but this one looked a little dull. The body of Chenshin quietly slipped into the woods nearby. Looking at the dust raised after the water dragon bomb hit the wall of the earth flow, Chen Tian was sure that he would not be discovered by Kakuzu. After the water dragon bomb hit the earth flow wall, only about 5 meters remained. After encountering the earth flow wall, it opened a small crater and then disappeared. Standing on the same spot, Chen Tian looked blankly at the scene in front of him, as if he was thinking whether the city was dead. The next moment, a black shadow appeared behind Chen Tian, and countless black lines pierced into his body. At the same time, Kakuzu's unpleasant voice sounded, "Ha ha ha, boy, although you are good in strength, your experience is too poor." After the smoke dissipated, Kakuzu was still standing where he was, but one of the 4 masks on his body was missing. Looking at the smoke before, he separated the earth attribute masks of Tuliu Wall and Tuliu City Wall. Quietly controlling the earth attribute mask and using earth escape, he came behind Chen Tian, and that was the scene he saw today. But the next moment something changed suddenly. The morning sky that was almost stabbed into a sieve suddenly turned into a ball of smoke and disappeared in place. Boom! The moment the smoke appeared, the earth attribute mask suddenly exploded under its feet, and thousands of detonating symbols continued to appear. By the time the explosion disappeared, Kakuzu's earth mask had disappeared. "Ah, if you dare to destroy my heart, then use your heart to make up for it." Seeing that he was being played, Jiaodu was trembling with heartache. These hearts were selected by him one by one, and they are not comparable to those rubbish. Tailed beast Jade. But the next moment, his voice ceased to exist, because in the forest behind him, a blood-red energy ball rushed towards him. The moment he saw this energy ball, Kakuzu was horrified. He has lived for almost 100 years, and this is not the first time he has seen this thing. Although it is not as huge as the ones I saw before, this small ball of light is obviously a tailed beast Jade. Unfortunately, at this moment, he had no time to form the seal. In his panic, the thunder attribute mask on his body quietly fell off, turning into a bolt of lightning and disappearing. Boom! After doing all this, the tailed beast Jade came to him and fell down fiercely. Like thunder in the blue sky and white sun, a loud noise resounded, and a pit that was more than 10 meters wide and 3 to 4 meters deep appeared on the spot. In this uninhabited place, how long will it take for this hole to be discovered? More than 500 meters away from the tailed beast Jade explosion, a black thread slowly came out and slowly turned into the shape of Kakuzu. After coming out, he lay down weakly on the ground. Kakuzu gasped and said intermittently, "This kid is too scary. No wonder it is as valuable as the shadows of the 5 great ninja villages. It destroyed 4 of my hearts." As he murmured, his face still showed a look of fear, and he couldn't help but touch the position of the mask on his body. It's a pity that there is no mask left at this moment. It seems like we need to replenish the heart as soon as possible. I'll give up the boy's bounty first and see if there is a chance later. After setting his goal, Kakuzu headed to a place with people to find a suitable heart. At the same time that Jiaodu was scared, the instigator, Chen Tian, had already left there and headed towards the next city. He has never thought about whether he can kill Kakuzu. Kakuzu is a serious cage-level strongman, and he is just a Junin himself. If it weren't for the unequal intelligence, Chenshin would have been able to hold on to Kakuzu for at most 10 minutes. This time, it is not easy to be able to master both the inner and outer corners. So after releasing the tailed beast Jade, Chen Tian left the place without looking back. After all, he didn't know whether this move could cause trouble to Kakuzu. In the original work, Kakuzu had captured tailed beasts. In fact, Kakuzu did have a way to avoid the tailed beast, but he was so embarrassed because he underestimated Chen Tian. But these things have nothing to do with Chen Tian for the time being, and Jiaodu won't catch up for a while anyway. Humming a tune that no one could understand, Chen Tian walked towards the next town with small steps. What Chen Tian thought about most along the way was who would put a reward on him. Among the people who have a grudge against him, the only ones who can earn 100 million are Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo. I wonder who among them, or the 2 of them did it together. He is not a person who is willing to suffer losses. He must take revenge and come back. Thinking about this, Chen Tian secretly made a decision in his heart. In just one day, Chenshin arrived at a small town not far from the city. Find a luxurious hot spring hotel and booked a room. Chen Tian was not in a hurry to go to the hot spring, but turned around and left the hot spring hotel. Stepping out of the door of the hot spring hotel, I looked around and saw a sushi restaurant. It happened that Chen Tian also felt a little hungry, so he went in to eat something. The food in the world of Naruto is the same as the food in the small island country in the previous life. Although it is a bit unpalatable, there is nothing Chenshin can do. After all, she is out now, and if she were at home, Kushina's cooking would still be pretty good. While eating, Chenshin found that he missed Kushina's craftsmanship a little, even though he had only been away from home for a few days. After chewing his food slowly, Chen Tian threw down his money and left the sushi restaurant in a sway, came to a deserted alley, and used his transformation technique. His basic 3-body technique is already at the perfect level. Without the strength of the shadow level, it is impossible to see through it. After the transformation, from the small puddle on the ground, Chenshin looked at his face that was exactly the same as the adult Uzumaki Naruto and nodded with satisfaction. Although Naruto has not yet been born, he is his future nephew after all, so it would be good to use him as a trap first. It is estimated that after he returns this time, Naruto will have already appeared in Kushina's belly. Thinking of this, Chen Tian suddenly smiled. It seems pretty good to be the protagonist's uncle. After leaving this alley, Chen Tian first went to the casino. After walking around the bustling casino, he found no trace of Tsunade. If you ask a few bad gamblers at random, they have no news about Tsunade. One of them even muttered, "If I had known the whereabouts of the big fat sheep, I would have gone to her to make a fortune and still use it here." After confirming that Tsunade was really not here, Chen Tian couldn't help but feel a little depressed. In the original work, it obviously took Jiraiya a week to find Tsunade, but now that he has been out for 4 days, there is no news at all. It's incredible. Quote. After leaving the casino, Chen Tian returned to the hot spring hotel, pulled himself out naked and walked into the hot spring. But the first time he entered the hot spring, he saw a scene with red eyes that made people jealous. Just across from Chenshin, a middle-aged man with a fleshy face was also taking a bath in the hot spring. But behind him squatted a little girl who was as beautiful as a flower. The little girl's jade hands roamed back and forth on the middle-aged man's back, massaging him. "I want it too," Chen Tian kept wailing in his heart, but looking at his 6-year-old little loach, he could only give up this tempting idea. At the same time, he kept cursing the middle-aged man opposite him in his heart. For example, he was a mountaineer, he only had a small loach, etc. When Chen Tian finished his bath and left the hot spring, the middle-aged man also left with him. Because of the previous encounter, Chen Tian couldn't help but look at the middle-aged man a few more times, but he saw something interesting at this glance. When the middle-aged man was getting dressed, Chen Tian saw a forehead protector in his wardrobe, and it was a forehead protector from Sheing village. If these are considered normal, then it would be a bit interesting to have a scratch on the forehead protector. This person is obviously a rebellious ninja from Sheing village. Thinking of this, Chen Tian became cautious. He really wanted to find a money changer and see if he could find out who was offering a reward to him. It was a pity that although he had left Konoha several times, he had no idea where the money exchange was and couldn't find it at all. Since there are ready-made clues here, Chenshin doesn't mind asking in person. At the door of a toilet not far from where Chen Tian was, 2 men with treasonous forehead protectors pushed open the door of the toilet, turned around and went in. Pushing away the wood in the compartment, the 2 of them entered the money exchange. This is the place Chen Tian wants to find, but it's just disguised as a toilet. It is really difficult for ordinary people to find it without the guidance of an acquaintance. "Xiaohui, are there any big rewards recently?" As soon as they entered the door, the 2 of them started asking about the little girl at the counter. Although the little girl is only 17 or 18 years old, and there is no chakra fluctuation in her body, she is obviously an ordinary person. But these 2 ninjas, who were at least Chunin, spoke very politely, without any arrogance. The little girl smiled brightly at the 2 of them, took out a reward warrant and placed it on the bar. She said in a gentle voice, "A reward of 100 million is a lot of money. Xiaohui, aren't you just entertaining the 2 of us? We are just Chunin, how can we be the right match for the 5 great ninja village shadows?" Before they finished speaking, the 2 of them saw the photo on the reward order. It didn't reflect the image of the 5 great ninja villages. It was clearly a child of 6 or 7 years old. Although they were a little confused, their eyes flashed at the same time. It's a full 100 million. After doing this, even if you just eat and wait to die, it will be enough. Excited, the two of them raised their voices slightly and asked Xiaohui, is this really a 6 or 7-year-old child? This is a full 100 million. As soon as these words came out, the originally noisy money exchange suddenly became quiet, and everyone looked at the place where the two people were. After discovering this situation, the two of them knew that something was wrong. These people already knew about it, and their chances of winning the reward were greatly reduced. At this point, Xiaohui replied, yes, according to our investigation, this child is indeed only 6 years old. The money exchange was blown up at this time, and a 6-year-old child with a bounty of 100 million was too attractive to them. Xiaohui, give me a reward order. I want one too. Give me one too, this 100 million reward is mine. Fart, that's 100 million, I'm going to go too. Amidst the commotion, more than 20 people in the money exchange left with a reward warrant in their hands. Looking at the reward orders in their hands, they began to think about how they should live luxuriously for the rest of their lives. As for the danger, don't be ridiculous, he's just a 6-year-old kid, he's a genin, and he's a genin with no actual combat experience. Of course Chenshin didn't know these things clearly. He waited until midnight before sneaking out of the middle-aged rebellious ninja's room. Looking at the paper window in front of him, Chen Tian wanted to poke a hole and take a look inside. But he was afraid that the noise he made would wake up the ninja inside. After all, he himself has no perception, and he doesn't know how strong the guy inside is. In addition, Chen Tian found that he did not seem to have the ninjutsu to enter the room quietly. My experience is still too little, and my ninjutsu is not comprehensive enough. At this moment, Chen Tian's originally swollen heart slowly sank. I used to think that I was very powerful and could even play with Kakuzu at the film level, but now I think that the main reason was that the other party underestimated me. You must acquire some illusion, escape, and sensory ninjutsu in the future. In order to no longer encounter such difficulties, Chen Tian set his own future development direction in his mind. Even walking a single path is difficult enough for ordinary ninjas, but Chen Tian is different. He has a system and does not need to learn ninjutsu by himself. That's why he can fully develop the ninja phantom. After thinking about it, he determined that he could not control the enemy like an assassin, so he could only use the method he was best at. A warrior must look like a warrior. As soon as the words fell, there was a bang, and the door in front of Chen Tian was already torn apart. At the same time, Chen Tian, who was standing outside the door, used all his strength and 200 points of speed to reach the bedside in an instant. The sealing technique that had been prepared suddenly fell on the person on the bed, completely sealing his chakra. But at this moment, he found two people on the bed, and in desperation, he grabbed them with his right hand like lightning. After I started using it, I found that it felt delicate, a little soft and slippery. Forehead. The next moment, the man seemed to be frightened and passed out. After confirming that there was no danger, Chen Tian turned on the light in the room and looked at the scene on the bed. The rebellious nin whose chakra was sealed by him came to the ground obediently and squatted in the corner to look at him. Only a white body was left on the bed. Who else could it be but the masseur from before? Bah, what a fool! After knowing the situation instantly, Chen Tian complained fiercely. But the traitorous ninja looking at the corner looked even more unkind. Come, introduce yourself. Sitting on the chair, Chen Tian asked. Sir, the younger one is called Mata. He is a genin of Sheing village. He is currently a lonely rebellious nin. His father is his mother. Mata poured out all the 18 generations of his ancestors like beans. Seeing that he was still continuing the introduction, Chen Tian couldn't help but interrupt. Stop. Stop. Tell me where the nearest gold exchange is. The nearest money exchange is in the toilet 800 meters east of the Hot Spring Hotel. Open the second compartment of the toilet and push the wooden board behind it to enter. Mata didn't hesitate at all, which made Chen Tian feel a little embarrassed. It's not good that the other party is so cooperative, yet he strikes so harshly. Not good. But naturally he would not believe the other party so easily, so he said, your current chakra has been sealed by me. No one can unlock it without me. I will go to the gold exchange office tomorrow to see if I find you lied to me. Chenshin didn't finish what he said next, but he believed that Mata would definitely understand what he meant. After seeing the other party's repeated promises that he would never leave the hot spring hotel, Chen Tian left the room. Because he had kicked the door down, he did not close the door. At the same time, he thought viciously in his heart, there are no doors now. If you have the ability, do a live broadcast inside. Thinking about this, he felt much more comfortable. After returning to his room, Chen Tian thought about his plan for tomorrow. Before and after falling asleep, I suddenly thought about what place I had caught before. Round, smooth, and tender. Combined with that naked body, what else could this be? It was already noon of the next day after waking up. After washing up, Chen Tian went to see Mata first and left the hot spring hotel after finding that he was still there. Find a random place and ate a few mouthfuls of it, then went straight to the money exchange. After a while, he followed Mata's instructions and came to the second cubicle of the toilet. He stretched out his right hand suspiciously and pushed lightly against the wooden wall. With a creak, a wall about the same size as a door opened on the wooden wall. I didn't expect it to be here. This guy Mata was really right. Chenshin was a little speechless. Seeing Mata's cooperation, he thought there was some conspiracy. I didn't expect that the other party was so well behaved because he was afraid of death. Is there such a ninja? For a time, Chen Tian felt that his outlook on life had collapsed. But now that he was here, he naturally had no need to hesitate and walked in. It is worth mentioning that from the night attack on Mata last night to now, he has maintained the appearance of an adult Naruto, so he has not exposed himself. After entering the money exchange, a space of more than 200 square meters comes into view. Although there are a few lights to keep the light on, it still seems a bit dim. It's just that there is no one in the money exchange except a little girl behind the bar. Is the money exchange always so deserted? When faced with doubts, Chenshin asked the girl at the bar. The little girl looks to be 17 or 18 years old. She is wearing a light blue skirt and a ponytail. She looks very eye-catching. This place is usually very lively, but recently there was a big bounty, and they all showed up to try their luck. After seeing the morning sky, the little girl was stunned for a moment, and then smiled lightly as if nothing had happened. He nodded clearly, knowing that the large bounty was his own without even thinking about it. He was too lazy to ask any more questions and immediately revealed his purpose. I want to know who posted the large reward. Sorry, our money exchange will not disclose the customer's information, and I don't know who posted it. The little girl still maintained the previous smile on her face and spoke softly. Since you don't know, then find someone who knows. Hearing Chenshin's request, the little girl didn't seem to be surprised at all. She stretched out her hand to signal Chenshin to wait here, opened a secret door and walked in. After a while, the little girl came out followed by a handsome young man in his mid-20s. As soon as the young man appeared, Chen Tian became alert. Although I don't know the specific strength, this person is definitely a ninja. I wonder what the guest wants from me. If you ask about the reward, I have nothing to say. As soon as the young man opened his mouth, Chen Tian frowned in discomfort. Although these words seemed polite, the young man gave people a feeling of being superior. And shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Immediately Chen Tian asked politely, what if I must know? Then I will have to follow the rules of the money exchange. The young man didn't show any signs of weakness. His eyes were fixed on the morning sky, with traces of murderous intent constantly flashing through his eyes. His eyes narrowed. Chen Tian's mind turned over 1,000 times, because he was unsure of this man's strength, so he said, in this case, I will leave now. After saying that, Chen Tian turned around and left. The young man looked at Chen Tian's appearance with a disdainful smile on his face. But the next moment, a sudden change occurred, making the young man's eyes wide open. The morning sky that had gone away silently formed a seal in front of him, and a piece of thunder appeared on his right hand. The next moment, Lei Qi's already extremely fast speed coupled with Chen Tian's nearly full-level teleportation technique, before the young man could react, his right hand had already penetrated the young man's chest. The young man is at least the head of a gold exchange house, and Chen Tian's specific strength is hard to guess. He would use such a method just to be on the safe side. Perhaps some people feel that the surprise attack in the morning is not glorious enough. If Chen Tian heard this, he would definitely spit in his face. Have you ever seen a ninja who is as tough as a warrior? Ninjas are all assassins, a profession similar to that of killers. Chen Tian doesn't think there is any problem with this. While he was on the safe side, he didn't delay at all. With his free left hand, he fired another lightning strike and stabbed the opponent's neck fiercely. He has always kept in mind the saying that villains die because they talk too much. Bang! The young man opened his eyes wide, filled with disbelief. How dare he kill me? The gold exchange can be passed down for thousands of years. How powerful is the hidden strength contained in it? Even after the shadows of the 5 major ninja villages were offered a reward by the gold exchange, they did not take action against the gold exchange. Why did this person dare to do this? It's a pity that he never had the chance to know the answer. His vision went dark and he completely lost consciousness. Watching the young man die, the girl beside him suddenly trembled and did not dare to say a word. Looking at her, Chen Tian went straight to the backstage of the money exchange and collected all the information in it into the space at any time. Although he doesn't mind killing people, he is not to the point of killing people without blinking an eye. This is just an ordinary girl who doesn't even have chakra, so it doesn't matter if she is let go. After the morning sky left, the trembling girl hurriedly stood up, and the ground was thrown away from where she had been standing. Even though there were some blood stains on Qianqianyu's hands, she didn't stop. After digging a pit of more than 50 centimeters, a red scroll appeared in the pit. The scroll doesn't look big, it's about the same size as a rolled-up A4 paper. After taking out the scroll, the girl seemed to feel relieved and was no longer as anxious as before. Chen Tian, there is a reward of 100 million, this girl will remember you. Looking at the direction in which Chen Tian was retreating, the girl murmured something. The next moment the scroll was opened, the girl was lost in a cloud of smoke. If Chen Tian heard what the girl said, he would definitely be shocked. Because he has always maintained a perfect level of transformation. Even among shadow-level experts, there are not many who can see through him. How can such an ordinary girl see through him? It's a pity that Chen Shen doesn't know all this. After leaving the money exchange, Chen Tian immediately rushed to the next town. After arriving in the town, I opened a room at random and entered it to check out the information I had captured previously. Among these information, he knew who had a reward for each person who had a reward on his head. After flipping through dozens of pages, Chen Tian saw his information. Looking at the words written on it, he could barely conceal the murderous intent in his eyes. Shimura Danzo, it's really you. The information clearly stated. Konoha ninja Chen Tian, 6 years old, has a bounty of 100 million, and the bounty is placed by Shimura Danzo. After previously rescuing Kakashi and Hirano Lin, he had already applied for graduation with Minato and was now an official genin. That's why the information says Konoha genin. After reading his own information, Chen Tian secretly decided on Danzo's death sentence. Konoha Pot King, what's the point of wanting you, the Cauldron King of Konoha, when Minato is still alive? After putting aside his own affairs, he continued to check the information in his hand, but the more he looked at it, the more frightened he became. This information is so comprehensive that it contains almost all the secrets of the 5 major ninja villages. How many Junin are there in each ninja village, how strong are they, and how much power they have secretly cultivated? Chanshin didn't know about other villages, but he had some knowledge of Konoha. This information was absolutely accurate. There is no such thing as Hirano Lin becoming the 3-tailed Jinchuriki, otherwise Chanshin would suspect that the gold exchange was also a force of Black Zetsu. But even this is terrifying enough. He carefully put away the information in his hands and planned to hand it to Minato after returning to the village so that he could be on guard. He himself touched his chin and started thinking. No wonder the cage-level Kakuzu and Hidan in the original work also completed the bounties in a decent manner, instead of directly robbing the money exchange. It seems there is a reason. There is no information about the gold exchange office in the data, so Chen Tian doesn't know how powerful the gold exchange office is, but he thinks it's not too small. Now that the money exchange has been offended, Chen Shen has become cautious. After resting for a day, Chen Tian continued to head to the next town. This time was different from before because he already knew Tsunade's information. After Chen Tian left Konoha, Minato and Orochimaru were not idle. Various technological products were spread from Orochimaru's laboratory. While Konoha was reluctant to help with farming, Konoha's funds were almost too much to use up, so a lot of money was invested in the laboratory. The money was turned into generators, lights, computers and other items in the hands of Orochimaru, which greatly improved the quality of life of the people of Konoha. After the news spread, some nobles from the Fire Country no longer lived in the city and wanted to settle down in Konoha. Shuaman, who started the real estate business at Chen Tian's suggestion, could hardly breathe when he looked at the silver coins that were thrown at him like paper. In this way, instead of spending money, Konoha also made a lot of money, which made Minato grin from ear to ear. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who saw all this in his eyes, almost lost his teeth. Why didn't he have so much money when he was in power? Just because of this money, he was often dragged around by the daimyo. He was as stubborn as Minato, and he didn't care about the daimyo at all. After having money, it was naturally different. Minato used all the ninjas to start building a new Konoha, and even the Anbu was not spared. Items such as reinforced concrete were transported out of Orochimaru's laboratory and turned into houses in the hands of these ninjas. The two-story Hokage building, which used to be the tallest, is no longer ranked, and high-rise buildings continue to appear. The labor force of ninjas is almost astonishing. Every day when they get up, the residents of Konoha will find that Konoha has undergone major changes. In addition to these, the most important thing is that the fourth Hokage's wife, Uzumaki Kushina, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, is pregnant. The future savior and the well-deserved protagonist is about to be born. At this point, 3 of the Konoha 12 Xiaoqiang have been born, and 9 are in the process of being conceived. Chanshin had expected all the changes in Konoha. After all, he was the one who made the plans, but he did not expect that the progress would be so fast. But he didn't know this yet. After he took Tsunade back to Konoha, the two of them thought they had gone to the wrong place. At this time, Chen Tian was already on the road, heading towards Hengyang Town. In the casino in the previous town, Chen Tian had already found out that the big fat sheep was in Hengyang Town. After hearing the news, Chen Tian slapped his forehead in annoyance. The reputation of Hengyang Town was not much worse than that of Chengdu, the country of fire. Apart from Chengdu, this town of Hengyang is the most famous gambling city in the land of fire. There are dozens of casinos inside, and each one is magnificent and famous. Tsunade, a woman who represents gambling among the 3 ninjas, is most likely to be in Hengyang Town. 2 days later, Hengyang Town appeared in Chen Tian's eyes. From a distance, Hengyang Town is bustling with people, and the excitement is no worse than that of Konoha. Find Tsunade in here, hiss. Taking a breath of air, Chenshin rubbed his forehead depressedly, feeling very helpless, and his desire to explore ninjutsu became even greater. If he had the detection ninjutsu, he wouldn't have had to sneak attack in the previous battle, and he wouldn't have to go to such trouble to find Tsunade now. Just like in the money exchange, the young man was obviously just a chunin, which made him nervous for a long time. However, along the way, Chen Tian also discovered that before his physique had not broken through, the probability of dropping even ninjutsu cards was much smaller. If this were not the case, the ninjutsu he needed would have been picked up long ago. Shaked his head, got rid of all these messy thoughts, and strolled into Hengyang Town in front of him. As he gets closer and closer to Tsunade, he gets closer and closer to his own physical breakthrough. Thinking of this, Chen Tian couldn't help but feel a little excited. So he didn't wander around after entering Hengyang Town, and immediately headed towards a casino. The big fat sheep has escaped. Go and chase it. That's where he's running, chase him. She still owes me 5 million taels, we can't let him run away. Before entering the casino, hundreds of people came out of the casino shouting. One of them pointed in a direction and shouted, and the crowd cheered and chased after him. That momentum is no different from that of thousands of horses galloping. After the smoke dissipated, there was almost no one at the entrance of the casino. The reason why I say almost is because there are 2 little girls standing not far away from the morning sky. The older one had black hair and was holding a pink pig in his arms. He looked about 14 or 15 years old, about the same age as Kakashi. The younger one has blonde hair and looks to be 6 or 7 years old, about the same age as Chen Tian. At this time, the 6 or 7-year-old blonde girl put her hands on her hips and laughed loudly, you still want to ask me for money, but a shadow clone will fool you all. Looking at this arrogant look, morning sweat broke out on his forehead. This look is so familiar to him, the familiar blonde hair, the familiar airport, isn't it the look of the little girl Tsunade turned into in the original work? The black-haired girl next to him is Shizune, and the pig in her arms is called Dudu. Even Chen Tian himself did not expect to find Tsunade so smoothly, and he was still a little proud that I was the child of destiny. But before he could finish being proud, he found a little boy looking at him in a daze and Tsunade spoke. "Boy, I'm watching my mother break your legs." As she spoke, Tsunade showed a fierce look. It's just that after maintaining the transformation, she doesn't look ferocious at all, but instead looks very cute. Has she always been like this? Thank you so much. Too lazy to talk to Tsunade, Chenshin cast a sympathetic look at Shizune. At the same time, he opened the anytime space, took out his Konoha ninja forehead protector, and put it on his forehead. Seeing this forehead protector, Tsunade and Shizune didn't know Chenshin's identity, and Shizune was so excited that she almost cried. With a cry of, "Pung!" Tsunade released her transformation technique and revealed her original appearance. It's really big. With just one glance, Chen Tian realized that there was no exaggeration in the original work, and Tsunade really had that strength. "Boy, who are you?" Tsunade's mood for Konoha is very complicated, so her attitude when seeing Chenshin is also very complicated. If Chen Tian hadn't looked like a child, she would have kicked her out long ago. Chenshin knew Tsunade's situation and immediately said, "My name is Chenshin, I am the younger brother of the 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato, and now a genin of Konoha." Tsunade showed a true expression, and her eyes looking at Chen Tian became much gentler. Although she is unwilling to return to Konoha, she still understands the situation in Konoha. What's more, Chenshin is Kushina's adopted brother, and she and Kushina are sisters, so her attitude towards Chenshin is naturally much better. "Let's go and have a drink first. Then we'll talk about where I live." Originally she wanted to go to the tavern to talk about it, but looking at Chen Tian's small stature, she changed her mind. In just a few minutes, a group of 3 people and a pig arrived at the hotel where Tsunade lived. Bang! Tsunade closed the door to the room and asked, "Tell me, what are you doing here, little guy?" While speaking, she also looked at Chen Tian carefully. She had already known about the existence of this boy from Kushina's letter, but this was the first time she saw him. After sensing it for a while, even Tsunade was shocked. This boy has too much chakra, much more than he did when he was 6 years old. You must know that you have inherited the bloodline of the ninja god Senju Hashirama, and chakra has always been your strength. Even Tsunade felt that the boy in front of her might reach the height of her grandfather in the future. Thinking of this, she quickly shook her head and dismissed the idea from her mind. Except for Uchiha Madara, no one can reach the level of his grandfather. I came here to ask Tsunade's sister if there is any way to break through the physical limits. Chenshin asked his question straightforwardly. Tsunade has a straightforward nature, so there is no need to beat around the bush. Now because Kushina's relationship with Tsunade is good, don't feel uncomfortable by yourself. Tsunade did not answer Chenshin's question immediately, but gave him a surprised look. Why does a genius like this ask about ways to break through the physical limits? However, she didn't ask any more questions. After thinking for a while, she replied, "I only know one way to break through the physical limits, and that is the 8-gate Dunjia. You must have heard of it." After listening to Tsunade's words, Chenshin's eyes suddenly darkened. She naturally knew the 8-gate Dunjia, but this was not what he needed. What he needs is a way to permanently break through the physical limits, not this temporary way. At this moment, Tsunade said again, "Although I don't know why you want to ask about such a thing, I am sure that it does not exist in this world." Tsunade's words were like rolling thunder striking Chen Tian's head, leaving him completely stunned. If he cannot find a way to break through physically, then his attributes cannot continue to increase. Even if his strength increases in the future, he will become a blue-deficient ninja like Kakashi. In the later period when monsters are running all over the ground, even if he has shadow-level strength, it is completely insufficient. Is he going to run away when pain comes? What about Kushina and Minato? Now that he has changed the development of the plot, who knows whether Naruto's mouth release will still be effective at that time. Moreover, Chenshin is not willing to let others control his own destiny. Perhaps seeing the sadness on Chenshin's cute little face, the kind-hearted Xian comforted her. It's okay, Xiaoshan. Wherever there is a problem, just work hard. You will definitely be able to solve the problem. The timid voice exploded in Chen Tian's mind like thunder. Ha ha ha. He looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Chenshin immediately appeared in front of Shizune, hugged her and thanked her. Thank you Shizune, I have a solution. Looking at Chenshin suddenly appearing in front of Shizune, even Tsunade had a flash of shock in her eyes. This speed is really too fast, almost as fast as her own. But now this is still a 6-year-old child, what about in the future? For a while, the thought that she had suppressed once again popped up in her heart. Compared to Tsunade, Shizune didn't react at all. After Chen Tian finished speaking, he exclaimed in surprise and hid behind Tsunade with a red face as if running away. Seeing this, Chen Tian smiled awkwardly and involuntarily touched the back of his head. As Shizune said, wherever there is a problem, he should work hard there. If the system limits his strength, he should find a solution from the system. If there is a way in reality, then why should the system do it? The other authorities are also confused. Naruto is also known as Black Zetsu's story of saving his mother, Otsutsuki family history, etc. These all show that the biggest thing in Naruto is blood. So, if he wants to break through his physical limits, he must pick up physical and blood cards. As long as he has the physique of the Otsutsuki clan, won't his physique naturally break through? In the original work, apart from the Otsutsuki clan, the most powerful ones are the shadows of each village, and there is no super shadow level at all. He has an ordinary body now, and he is not a special genius. Isn't it normal that his strength is limited? Thinking about this, Chenshin suddenly became enlightened, and then he hugged Shizune in excitement. But there is no need to explain these things to Tsunade Shizune in detail. He will never reveal the secrets of the system. After finding a way, Chenshin stared at Tsunade in front of him at first sight. Is there any more suitable physique than the Thousand Hands bloodline? Maybe, but Tsunade is right in front of her. Without even thinking, Chen Tian shamelessly stayed by Tsunade's side, trying to pick up the cards Tsunade dropped as soon as possible. In the blink of an eye, a month has passed, and Chen Tian still hasn't picked up the card he wants. Because Tsunade gambles every day in addition to gambling, not to mention she doesn't know how to fight, and there is no one who doesn't have the foresight to trouble Tsunade. So the chance of the card falling is very small. Therefore, Chenshin decided to lure Tsunade back to Konoha. There is Kushina in Konoha, and she has a whirlpool constitution. If Tsunade goes back, the probability of picking up the card in the morning will be doubled. For this purpose, Chenshin told Tsunade about the current changes in Konoha every day. Although these are all imaginary, Chenshin has no choice but to lie. But what he didn't know was that Konoha was developing too fast, and he said it was even lagging behind. After telling this, Chenshin recounted one by one the things that happened some time ago when he was fighting against Sarutobi Hiruzen and plotting against Shimura Danzo. He knew that Tsunade left because these two people had killed the Senju clan, so he specifically said it. As expected, after hearing the news, Tsunade's beautiful face became more smiley. But even so, she still did not agree to return to Konoha. In desperation, Chen Tian had no choice but to use his trump card. Tsunade's sister, Kushina's sister is pregnant. He is a Jinchuriki. The seal will loosen during delivery. It will be very dangerous if someone comes to cause trouble. I must go back. After packing his luggage, Chenshin found Tsunade and threw these words out. He didn't believe it. Tsunade and Kushina had such a good relationship. How could they remain indifferent after hearing this? Sure enough, Tsunade's face changed slightly, but she seemed to have thought of something again. She shook her head dejectedly and said, "Then go back, the teacher will definitely help you." Hearing Tsunade's words, Chenshin's heart skipped a beat. This was completely different from what he had imagined. He immediately said quickly, "We just plotted against him before. He has killed so many powerful people in Konoha. I don't believe him." After a pause, Chen Tian continued, "Now that Brother Minato is alone, the manpower is completely insufficient." This sentence spoke to Tsunade's heart. Sarutobi Hiruzen was indeed that kind of person. Even the Senju clan that founded Konoha was wiped out by his plan. Now she is the only one left. Will Sarutobi Hiruzen really protect Kushina? And just like what this guy said, they had deprived Hiruzen Sarutobi of his rights before. How could Hiruzen Sarutobi not hate it? Tsunade was not sure. If Hiruzen Sarutobi and Danzo Shimura joined forces, Minato would really not be able to handle it. That guy Jiraiya is not in Konoha either. Thinking of this, Tsunade felt even more upset, and she hated her hemophobia. Looking at Tsunade's struggle for life and death, Chen Tian knew that it was almost over and left immediately. In the original work, Tsunade and Jiraiya were not present in the Night of the Nine Tails. It was not that they did not care about Kushina and Minato, but that they did not get the news. Now I take these two people back. I don't know if Kyuubi will be able to continue jumping around by then. I don't know how he would feel when he thought that as soon as Kyuubi came out, he was surrounded by 4 or 5 shadow-level powerhouses. Wait, I'll go back with you. Shizune, you go pack your luggage. The moment Chen Tian walked out of the room with random thoughts, Tsunade finally stopped him. Hearing the voice behind him, the smile on Chen Tian's lips flashed away, and he stopped politely. After Shizune packed up, the group of 3 people and 1 pig set off. Since there is no need to take a detour this time, Chenshin estimates that it will only take them 4 or 5 days to return to Konoha. This speed is much faster than the more than a month it took him to find Tsunade. It was originally a 5-day journey, but Chenshin and Tsunade walked together and walked for more than 10 days before they were halfway there. Forget it, one time when Chen Tian was buying food, he accidentally let Tsunade know that he had a lot of wealth, and the nightmare began. Tsunade extorted a total of 50 million taels, which not only paid off Tsunade's gambling debt, but also gave this woman enough gambling capital. Every day, most of the time is spent in the casino, and only a small half of the time is spent on the road. However, Chen Tian didn't feel bad. 50 million taels was not a big deal to him, so he just gave it to him. Besides, in return, Tsunade will teach him ninjutsu when she has time. It's a pity that Chen Tian's talent is not enough and he didn't learn any of them, but he was lucky enough to pick up a few. The following is what he gained in these 10 days. Medical ninjutsu, palm senjutsu. Medical ninjutsu, healing technique. Medical ninjutsu, the art of extracting minor ailments. And the most disgusting thing about Chen Tian is that he will lose every bet. The first 3 medical ninjutsu made Chen Tian happy for a long time, and also made Tsunade marvel at his talent. But the one who always loses every bet makes him sick. When he first learned that he would lose every bet, Chen Tian still didn't believe in this evil, so he went to Tsunade and bet with him for half the night. By the time he left, his eyes were already dull, and the facts taught him a severe lesson. In the middle of the night, he and Tsunade had been tied, and no one had won a single match. 2 people who are bound to lose in a bet collide and no one can win. After discussing with the system, it was discovered that the product could not be returned. Chenshin had no choice but to accept this fact. But an even bigger blow came once again, that is, Tsunade had to bet with him several times every day. It's hard to find someone who can't win against you. How can you let him go so easily? Today, 3 people and 1 pig came to a new town. Tsunade couldn't wait to go to the casino, leaving Shizune to follow Chen Tian. Since he was not in a hurry anyway, Chen Tian called Shi Yin out and planned to go shopping. Zion, do you want to go out for a walk? Good. Hold the pink pig in his arms, nodded his little head gently, and the 2 little guys went out together. As soon as he went out, after looking around for a few times, Chenshin's face darkened and he whispered to Shizune, the situation is not right. If something happens later, you should hide quickly. At some point, there was no one on the street in front of them. But Chenshin always felt like someone was staring at him, and their eyes were full of malice. Suffering from the lack of sensory ninjutsu, I can only sit back and wait. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The next moment, there were suddenly more than a dozen figures in the street, some holding knives and some with bare hands. The only similarity is that these people all have their faces covered, so their appearance cannot be seen clearly. This is the kid, kill him. Without even talking nonsense to Chen Tian, these people rushed forward. There were ninjas who formed seals on the spot, and there were also samurai who charged with swords. Hide. Without even thinking about it, he shouted to Shizune, and Chenshin immediately entered the crowd. The attacks of so many people are completely unable to be resisted by just relying on one's own defensive ninjutsu. It is better to fight these people in close combat. At least among the crowd, they will take care of their own people and not release powerful ninjutsu. The originally cute Shizune hadn't understood Chenshin's words, but when she heard Chenshin's voice again, she subconsciously hid in the hotel. Rage. With the extremely fast teleportation technique and the powerful destructive thunder cutter, a person fell to the ground the moment Chen Tian rushed over. Just when he was about to repeat his old tricks, a sword light stopped his movement. Thinking that Chen Tian's too fast speed caused these people to be a little stunned, and one person died in the battle. Seeing that he was about to rush to the next person, the leading warrior couldn't help it. Secrets, draw your sword and chop. The silver-white knife light came to the morning sky like the sharpest cutting machine. Substitution. Looking at the sword light less than 1 meter away from him, Chen Tian instinctively used the best plan. Even so, when he appeared again, there was a trace of blood coming out of the tip of his nose. He stretched out his hand and wiped it. Chen Tian was afraid for a moment. If his body's instinctive reaction hadn't been fast enough, he would have been cut in half. Then his face became more solemn, his eyes fixed on these people, and he made secret calculations in his heart. There were 21 people in total, including 13 ninjas, 7 samurai, and one who was dressed strangely and had no idea what his occupation was. His sudden outburst killed one, leaving a full 20. There are no genin among them, the weakest ones are also chunin. The strength of the samurai cannot be seen, but there are 3 junin, almost all of whom are at the level of Asuma Sarutobi in the future. It's not easy to handle. Sighing lightly, Chenshin's eyes became sharper. The most suitable ninjutsu now is the tailed beast jade, but there is no way these samurai would give me a chance to release it. Furthermore, after increasing the distance, the opponent's dozen or so ninjas will be liberated, and he may not be able to withstand it. Furthermore, Chenshin used a premonition to leave the person who had not made any move, and he was very concerned about it. But fortunately, none of these people went to trouble Shizune, otherwise Chenshin would not have time to rescue him. Konoha's Great Whirlwind. With a calculation in his mind, Chen Tian immediately kicked a chunin. With a strong body and strong chakra, this kick directly made a sound that broke through the air. It is obviously unwise to engage in close combat with unknown samurai. Kill all these ninjas before flying their kites. Secrets, draw your sword and chop. Fire release, fire dragon technique. The moment Chen Tian rushed up, several ninjutsu and sword lights were already speeding towards him. Seeing these attacks getting closer and closer, Chen Tian moved his right hand quietly, and the substitute technique he had already formed was activated instantly. The moment the ninjutsu and sword light hit the white mist, Chenshin had already appeared behind a junin. Rage. Without any hesitation, the lightning on his left hand flashed and instantly penetrated the junin's chest. How is it possible? With the last words spoken in front of him, the junin fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. At this time, Chenshin had already used the teleportation technique to leave the place. During this period, he also kept in mind the strengths and weaknesses of all those who attacked. Except for the first warrior, no other warriors were afraid. Now, you are the only one left. Thinking about it, Chen Tian glanced at the person who took action for this without leaving any trace. Up to now, everyone has taken action, but that person is still as stable as a mountain. Bah, bang, bang. While Chen Tian was thinking, this guy in weird clothes who didn't even show his face walked out. When this person spoke, everyone else stopped immediately and watched quietly. These people didn't bother to take another look at the dead junin. This attitude made Chen Tian more and more cautious. At this time, the strangely dressed man said again, keep an eye on the chunin from the beginning, so that they think you want to deal with these weaklings first. Then suddenly change the target and take the opportunity to kill a junin, not bad. This man told Chen Tian's psychology word for word, and looked at Chen Tian with admiration. He was right. Chenshin was able to kill a junin by taking advantage of their carelessness due to their large numbers and his own illusion of staring at the chunin. The next step will not be so easy, and we will have to compete with hard power. Chapter 31. Would you like to join us? You are a smart person and should know how to choose. As he spoke, the man pointed at the ninjas and samurai around him, and his meaning was self-evident. There are quite a lot of people. He nodded noncommittally, and then said, "You want me to join, don't you need to introduce yourself?" Ha ha ha. He chuckled lightly, not caring about Chen Tian's little plan, and said, "Why, you just destroyed one of our gold exchanges a few days ago, and now you don't recognize him." Knowing that Chen Tian was really inquiring about information, could he escape with so many people? As soon as these words came out, Chen Tian instantly understood that it was the people from the money exchange who came to take revenge. The strength of this money exchange cannot be underestimated. There are 3 Junin, an elite Junin level samurai, and a person who can't see through it. I don't know if these forces are the full strength of the money exchange. He wanted to continue to obtain information, but the other party no longer gave him a chance. Join us now or die immediately. Grinning, since there is no more information, let's start fighting directly. Water release, big explosive water wave. The hands behind his back rotated rapidly, and violent waves suddenly appeared and rushed towards the enemies on the opposite side. He was secretly forming seals long before he obtained the information, and it happened to explode at this time. This is a hidden benefit of the system discovered by Chen, that is, there is no chakra fluctuation when he forms the seal. As long as no one sees his hands, no one can spot him making seals. Secret tip: Yan Wei, Anamu, Shikigami, Tu-un, Tulu City Wall. 3 voices sounded in succession, and the strongest ninja and the strongest samurai took action at the same time. Chanshan's big explosion was completely dissipated by 2 attacks and 1 defense, without any results. The moment the big blast of water was released, the tailed beast jade in front of Chanshan's face began to condense. As the tailed beast jade gets bigger and bigger, Chen Tian's face becomes more and more ugly. In addition to almost depleting the chakra, it was also because of the strangely dressed man, who turned out to be an Onmyoji. Onmyoji has a long history, even before the birth of ninjas. It was not until the 6th-path sage founded the ninja sect that Onmyoji gradually disappeared. Although it is very difficult to become an Onmyoji, their strength is not much worse than that of ninjas, and their methods are very strange. Just look at the green-faced and fanged ghost floating next to the man. If he hadn't seen the god of death in the original work, Chen Tian would have thought that this guy was the god of death. Tailed beast jade. The moment the waves were broken, the basketball-sized tailed beast jade in Chen Tian's mouth rushed out with majestic power. This tailed beast jade contains 2,000 chakra points of the morning sky. After releasing the tailed beast jade, the chakra in his body is already less than 100. Shikigami. Move. Secret tip: kill with 1 sword. Instant body technique. Looking at the tailed beast jade getting bigger and bigger, these people's expressions suddenly turned ugly. No one knew that Chen Tian actually had such a trick. The Shikigami moved the man out of the tailed beast jade's attack range, and the 2 Jonin immediately left. The most powerful warrior is terrifyingly fast, comparable to the Jonin's teleportation technique. Boom. After these 4 people left the attack range of the tailed beast Tama, the tailed beast Tama reached the target and exploded instantly. There was not even a scream, and all these people disappeared from the world without any bones left. There was only a deep pit dozens of meters wide left on the spot, which was frightening to see. The 4 people who avoided the tailed beast had ugly expressions. It was absolutely unforgivable that so many people died in what they thought was an easy task. Kill him for me. The man who controlled the Shikigami was completely angry, and even his voice became sharp. Tsunade, Jiraiya, I'm going to die if you 2 don't do anything. Looking at the 4 people rushing forward, even though the chakra in his body was enough to unleash a powerful fireball technique, Chen Tian was not panicked at all. There was so much noise here, Tsunade must have heard it and rushed over. As for Jiraiya, during the previous battle, Chen Tian accidentally saw a tuft of white hair on the roof of the hotel. The art of the wild-haired lion. It hurts my feet. Boom. The 2 of them were worthy of being cage-level powerhouses, but as soon as Jiraiya made a move, he Junin and strangled him with his hair. Because of his fear of blood, Tsunade just kicked the person so hard that he couldn't stand up. Then he instantly came behind Chen Tian and turned around. Jiraiya, I leave it to you. Before Jiraiya could speak, Tsunade had already completed the division of labor. All the enemies were handed over to Jiraiya, and she and Chenshin left first. There is no need to say much about what happened after that. It was just a samurai and an onmyoji, and they couldn't make any trouble in front of Jiraiya. In less than 5 minutes, Jiraiya had killed these 2 people and found Tsunade, Chentian and others. This is partly because onmyoji's methods are weird, otherwise he would have ended earlier. Long time no see, Tsunade. Jiraiya first said hello to Tsunade, and then asked Chentian, "Who are you, and why did you provoke the money exchange?" As expected of Jiraiya, he recognized the money exchange just by fighting. I was secretly shocked, but Chentian still answered truthfully. While walking and chatting, the 3 of them quickly returned to the hotel, and Shizune ran out. "Shaoshan, you are so powerful. Of the 20 people you killed, only 4 were left, including the Jonin." Ziyan looked at Chenshin and her eyes were filled with anger. Little Xingxing, her handsome little face was full of admiration. She is already 13 years old and is still a Chunin, but Chentian is only 6 years old, and she is already so powerful. It is simply amazing. As soon as these words came out, even Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at Chentian in surprise. They arrived just when Chenshin released a large explosive water wave, which was not seen in the previous battles. Originally, I thought Chentian just killed a bunch of fish, but I didn't expect that he had already killed a Jonin before. Is your kid really 6 years old? He's already dozens of years old, but he won't grow up, right? Jiraiya's eyes were a little dull, and he couldn't control his thoughts. Although Tsunade didn't say anything, the surprised look in her eyes made Chentian feel uncomfortable all over, and he was ready to run away at that moment. A few cards were dropped on the battlefield, and he still had to pick them up. He had no time to chat with them. "Sister Tsunade, old man Jiraiya, I'm going out for a while and I'll be back soon." As soon as the words fell, Chenshin used the last chakra to use the teleportation technique and disappeared from the place. After the morning sky disappeared, Jiraiya suddenly turned into black and white, mechanically turned his head to Tsunade and asked, "Tsunade, am I that old?" The word, old man, brought great harm to Jiraiya, who was in his prime, comparable to the frontal bombardment of the morning sky-tailed beast Jade. After leaving Tsunade and Jiraiya, Chentian quickly returned to the battlefield. There were no corpses here. Even the big crater created by his bombing disappeared. It was obviously restored by Jiraiya using Earth Release. But those shining cards remained in place. I remember that one of these cards was dropped by Tsunade when she took a kick. I don't know whether it was the Pain 10 kick or the Senju physique. This made Chenshin a little impatient. Tathagata, Buddha, Jade Emperor, Avalokitesvara, Bodhisattva, and God's angels bless me. I must have 1,000 armed physique. While praying, Chen Tian quickly collected the cards. Because he would have a 1-second pause when collecting the cards, he never dared to pick them up during battle. The purple card is the secret book, drawing the sword. Is it fused? The purple card is the secret book, Yan Wei. Is it fused? The blue card is ninjutsu, thunder release earth walk. Is it fused? A series of system prompts sounded, and it was finally time to reveal the answer. The special card is physique, thousand hand physique. Is it fused? Nice. Hearing the system prompt, Chen Tian waved his hand, his little face full of excitement. This physical problem has been bothering him for 2 full months. Without this problem, he might have become a shadow-level powerhouse. Now that he has finally solved this big problem, the big stone in his heart has fallen to the ground. Fusion, fuse them all to me. Chanshin didn't want to wait even for a second. He had been surrounded and killed so many times in such a short time. This world was really too dangerous. Last time Kakuzu was involved, the other party was too careless. This time, Jiraiya and Tsunade were there, otherwise he would have died countless times. Card fusion is successful, the system has been automatically upgraded, please check it yourself. As a fulfilling and strange feeling disappeared, Chen Tian's body suddenly trembled, and then the system prompt sounded. Open the system panel. With a little curiosity, Chen Tian directly clicked on the system panel. Host, Chenshin. Talent, Space Talent LV3. Taijutsu, Konoha Great Whirlwind LV4 omitted for full level. Ninjutsu, Portable Space LV1, Go Fireball Technique LV6, Earth Flood Wall Technique LV5, Earth Dragon Bullet Technique LV5, Reikiri LV4, Big Explosive Water Wave LV7, Water Formation Wall LV5, Water Dragon Bullet LV5, Teleportation Technique LV7, Tailed Beast Jade LV2. The Earth Current Wall is LV4, and the Thunder Escape is LV5. Omitted for full level. Sword Skills. Secret Manual, Drawing the Sword and Cutting at LV7, Secret Manual, Yan Wei at LV3. Medical Ninjutsu. Palm Immortal Technique, Healing Technique, and the Technique of Extracting Minor Ailments. Sealing Technique. Omitted. Physique. Thousand Hand Constitution. Physical Fitness. Chunin. Losing Chakra can defeat Chunin. Comprehensive Combat Power. Elite Jonin. Note: after the system is upgraded, you can only pick up cards from people killed by the host. No cards will be dropped from those killed by non-hosts. The physical fitness column has completely disappeared and has become an evaluation of a Chunin, and his strength has reached the level of an elite Junin. In addition to these, the introduction of the system is more comprehensive, including sealing techniques and healing ninjutsu. The only problem is that the number of ways to drop cards has been reduced, which makes Chen Tian very dissatisfied. After some discussion with the system said that the novice protection period has expired, and Chen had nothing to do. In this way, the previous plans were completely nullified, and it seemed that it would be of no benefit to him to let the powerful fight. However, the evaluation of the elite Jonin's strength still restored Chen Tian's disappointed mood. Soon he returned to the hotel and met up with Tsunade Jiraiya and others. Morden Sky and others are still on their way back, and the 2-month construction project in Konoha is almost complete. At this time, Konoha is no longer the small shabby village it was before, but has become a modern city. High-rise buildings stand in Konoha, and every house has electricity and running water. Rich families installed Orochimaru computers, and the more mediocre ones also bought Orochimaru televisions. In fact, the technology tree in the Naruto world is very weird. It is clear that there was a computer during Naruto's time in the original book, but it seemed to be completely useless. After some teachings from the morning sky, Minato and Orochimaru suddenly came to their senses and popularized these things in Konoha. Looking at Konoha getting better and better day by day, Sarutobi Hiruzen is no longer competing with Minato for power. I wanted a big house, installed a computer and disappeared. According to hearsay, Hiruzen Sarutobi's family has a lot of used toilet paper every day, and he himself looks a little haggard. But no one knows why. The underground Shimura Danzo did not have such a good attitude, and even despised Sarutobi Hiruzen for exercising his hand speed every day. After being greatly reduced in strength by Chen Tian's scheme, I felt extremely hateful towards Chen Tian and Minato. So he secretly contacted Hanzo, the demigod from the Land of Rain, hoping that he could kill Minato and Chen Tian. But no matter how he contacted him, no one from the Kingdom of Rain responded to him, which made him furious. Actually, you can't blame Hanzo for not keeping his promise. There's really nothing he can do about it. Unless Danzo can use Earth reincarnation to bring Hanzo back from the underworld, he can't do it. Now that they had just occupied the Land of Rain, Nagato and Konan suddenly understood when they read Danzo's letter. Well, you're the bad old man who killed my friend, so just wait for death. After I completely master the trick of, how many floors does a bag of rice need to resist, I will go to Konoha to find you. So Nagato practiced the Shinra Tensei even more diligently, ignoring Konan around him as nothing. The name of the completely solid Naruto version of Wei Yanagiri. Except for them, Obito, who had turned black, did not see the backup plan left by Chenshin. Chenshin really underestimated his brain. So after controlling the purpose and the kaleidoscope, this guy rushed into the Kurikage village just like the original work and controlled the poor little dwarf Yagura. The bloody mist in Wying village was just beginning. All the major bloodline families suffered disasters one after another and were exterminated one by one. The rest are also in danger, fearing that it will be their family's turn next. At the same time, Luasha of Sand Shadow Village stabilized the situation and became the real shadow of Sand Shadow Village. No one can influence his decision, and his wife is about to give birth to a third child. In Reikage village, the third generation Reikage died in battle, and the fourth generation I also came to power not long ago and is working hard to recover. At the same time, they were discussing how to negotiate with Konoha and what tricks they could do during the negotiations. For a time, there was a rare peace in the ninja world. The 5 major ninja villages closed their doors and only did some tasks. With less friction in these big ninja villages, life in the little ninja villages will be much easier. After the ninja world became stable, Konoha's reputation spread very quickly. Rich people came to Konoha one after another and wanted to settle in Konoha. Forcibly turning a small village in Konoha into a big city with a capacity of 300,000 people is simply terrifying. Even Konoha did not hesitate to train more ninjas to maintain order in the city. After settling the matter at the money exchange, Chenshin will naturally not let Jiraiya go. The more powerful combatants, the better. If the Hokage were someone else, Chen Tian wouldn't bother to care so much, and would defect by himself if he was unhappy. Wouldn't it be nice to join the Shaoshin group and make your official debut? But who made Minato the Hokage? Moreover, Naruto is now a few months old, and Kushina's disaster is not far away. Although he has changed a lot of things, Chen Tian doesn't want to see even the 1 in 10,000 chance. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Minato, there are 4 shadow-level strong men. If you add Sarutobi Hiruzen, it will be 5. After counting one by one with his fingers, Chen Tian finally relaxed completely. According to his estimation, Uchiha Madara is now dead, and even if Nagato and Uchiha Obito come to Konoha together, Konoha's current strength can teach them how to behave. Jiraiya was indifferent to Chen Tian's good words, so he had no choice but to let Tsunade's strange power punch come out. With this punch, Jiraiya surrendered on the spot and immediately agreed to return to Konoha with them. To take care of Shizun's speed, the group slowed down slightly, but even so, it only took 3 days. Where is this? Are we going wrong? Looking at the unfamiliar high-rise buildings in front of him, Jiraiya stumbled and said, "That's right, this is the location of Konoha." As he spoke, he looked around to make sure that this was Konoha. Tsunade is no better than Jiraiya, but because Chen Tian introduced her before, she can still accept it reluctantly. Actually, what she didn't know was that Chen Tian was completely bragging before. In his mind, no matter how fast Konoha develops, it will take several years to reach this level. But he still underestimated the working ability of ninjas. There is nothing that one ninjutsu cannot solve. If there is, then there will be another one. At first glance, Chen Tian even felt that he had returned to his previous life, and he was also very shocked. Jiraiya-sama, Tsunade-sama. Right here, 2 people walked out of a house that was more luxurious than the previous Hokage's office. These 2 people are known to Chen Tian and others. They are the duo who guard the gate of Konoha for 10,000 years. Oh my god, how can you live so well? Jiraiya couldn't hold it in any longer and exclaimed on the spot. Hearing this, the 2 of them were stunned for a moment, then they came to their senses, chuckled and said, "It's been a long time since the 2 adults came back. Our place is considered a relatively bad place. A relatively poor place. A worse place. The bad part. The place. Fang." This sentence hovered in Jiraiya's mind like an echo. This was considered bad. What would it look like inside? He was still asking, but Tsunade's impatience couldn't wait any longer and entered Konoha first. "If you have anything to ask, wouldn't you know if you go in and take a look?" Looking at Tsunade's movements, Jiraiya greeted the 2 gatekeepers and followed him. In this way, the group officially entered the new Konoha. Walking along the way, I looked at the shops, the smooth asphalt road, and the street lamps standing at both ends. All this made them very curious. After wandering around for several hours, only a few people except Chen Tian finally accepted the fact. "Shaoshin, take us back to the Hokage building." After the excitement subsided, Tsunade and Jiraiya realized awkwardly that they seemed to be lost in Konoha. "I lost my way in the Konoha I grew up in." The 2 of them looked at each other secretly, and Tsunade said to Chen Tian as if nothing had happened. I glanced around in confusion. Chenshin opened his mouth and said dejectedly, "I'm lost too." Ha! Tsunade and Jiraiya opened their mouths at the same time, and even little Shizun looked confused. "Didn't you know that Konoha was like this before? Why are you lost? Could it be that he lied to us?" Thinking about it, Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at Chen Tian with a trace of suspicion and unkindness. He, I'll think of a way right now." With an awkward smile, Chen Tian immediately jumped up and stood on a 3-story building. Before he could call out, 4 or 5 Anbu suddenly appeared in front of him the next moment. You are not allowed to climb freely within Konoha, you can only walk on the roads. Anbu, wearing a fox mask, with only white hair visible on his head, scolded. The next moment, the two of them saw each other's appearance. Kakashi. Morning Sky. Just seeing the white hair, Chenshin was sure it was Kakashi. At the same time, Kakashi also recognized Morning Sky. You came just in time, we are lost, take us to find Brother Minato quickly. A teleportation technique came to Kakashi's side, and the two brothers' good looks all the way made Kakashi a little confused. Didn't you design Konoha? You can actually get lost here. Talent. Just when I wanted to say something, the next moment I saw Jiraiya and Tsunade. Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama, I will take you to see Hokage-sama right now. After greeting the two of them, Kakashi dispersed the other Anbu and led the way. He is now the squad leader of the Anbu and has achieved a certain status. Looking at Kakashi's attitude, Chen-tien secretly made a note for him in his heart. Today I returned to Konoha and accidentally got lost. As a result, Kakashi not only scolded me, but also refused to guide me. That's fine, but he actually ran to help Tsunade and Jiraiya lead the way. I, Chen-tien, will take revenge. With this note firmly in mind, Chen-tien followed happily. Actually, he would rather go home and have a good sleep, but it's a pity that he can't find his own home. If he could do it again, he would definitely say, I used to live in a simple village, but I want to change. If you give me another chance, please build my home in the most conspicuous place. While muttering, several people followed Kakashi to the Hokage building. The current Hokage building is a real building. The second floor waiter before is not even worthy of wearing these shoes. Good guy, it's as high as 10 floors, with floor-to-ceiling windows shining brightly. The reflected sunlight even made them feel a little dazzling, it was simply too much. Without hesitation, they and Kakashi arrived at the top floor, which was the Hokage's office. Looking at the door, Tsunade had mixed feelings for a moment. I had decided never to come back before, but I didn't expect to show up here again today. Moreover, after Hiruzen Sarutobi stepped down, Konoha changed so quickly that it was strange to her. Both Chenshin and Jiraiya understood Tsunade's mood. No one urged her, they both waited quietly. After adjusting his mood a little, and watching Tsunade return to her original state, Chenshin pushed the door open and went in unceremoniously. There's nothing to be polite about, the person inside is my elder brother. Shaoshin, are you back? Kushina almost misses you. Seeing the appearance of the morning sky, Minato showed a bright smile on his face. The smile turned into surprise in the next moment, and he looked blankly at the two people behind Chen-tien. Tsunade. That was Tsunade, one of the 3 ninjas. He's actually back. As for Lao Seppi Jiraiya, he was temporarily ignored by his disciples because he came back occasionally. Tsunade-sama, you are back. Minato's tone was very respectful, which showed his respect for Tsunade. You guys can talk later. Chen-tien suddenly interrupted the conversation between several people and said, tell me where your home is first, and I'll go home first. Before Minato could speak, he slapped his forehead again and said, by the way, I'll give this to you. I almost forgot about it. This is the information I got in exchange for gold. Throwing the information to Minato, Chen-tien returned home after getting the location of his home. Let's not talk about the friendly conversation with Kushina for the moment. It is worth mentioning that Uzumaki Naruto has been in Kushina's belly for 3 months. After returning to his bedroom, he took a shower and relaxed in the morning and began to think about the next thing. The next biggest thing is the Night of the Nine Tails, although I don't know if it will happen again. However, with the current strength of Konoha, as long as it is not on the scale of the Fourth War, it can cope with it, which is completely worthwhile. So it seems that nothing will happen to him next. There are still 17 years left before the Fourth War. He only needs to improve his strength during these 17 years. A week has passed in the blink of an eye, because after the war, all the major countries were recuperating. But Konoha has developed so much during this period. There is no way to hide this kind of thing, so Minato, Jiraiya, Tsunade and others decided to hold a Chunin exam in a month. At that time, all the 5 major ninja villages will be invited, and they will be exposed in front of them so that they will not dare to have any ideas about Konoha. Originally, some people jumped out to object, but with Tsunade Jiraiya's support and Sarutobi Hiruzen delegating power, the two advisors were already driven away to farm. Danzo Shimura was officially deprived of his rights and became an ordinary civilian because of the reward for Morning Sky. If it weren't for the fact that he was a disciple of the second Hokage, he would have been killed by Minato and Kushina long ago. If you dare to touch my brother, who gave you the courage? But these have nothing to do with Chenshin. He only knows that Minato actually asked him to take the Chunin exam today. Looking at the evaluations of the elite Jonin in the system, Chen Tian felt dumbfounded. Isn't this asking yourself to beat the children? Do you really think that every Chunin exam is Naruto's? Two Jinchuriki running through the forest, and a cage-level Orochimaru biting people everywhere. However, under the strong suppression of Minato, Chenshin had no choice but to obey the order. It took more than 20 days for Chen Tian to become familiar with the latest situation of Ichiban Konoha again. With 5 days left before the Chunin exam, Chenshin came to the gate of Konoha specially. Ninjas from other villages were about to arrive, and he wanted to see their expressions when they saw Konoha. It will definitely be very interesting. The first person to come was Sheing village. A Junin came with 3 genin. Chen Tian was very familiar with this Jonin, and it turned out to be Ma Ji. But I don't know who the 3 genin are, and I haven't seen them in the original work. They must be some kind of supporting role. These people's eyes almost fell out of their heads when they looked at Konoha today. They even thought they had gone the wrong way and were preparing to go back the way they came. Marky would have left with the 3 genin if the 2 gatekeepers hadn't stopped him. I didn't pay much attention to the 3 tolerances of the morning, I just knew that they were about 14 or 5 years old. After Sand Shadow Village is Tsuchikage Village. The person who came was Huang Tu, the son of Old Man Onoki, who was also an elite Jonin. This burly man actually gave Chen Tian a sense of danger, making him look at him a few more times. Tsuchikage Village is much more generous than Sand Shadow Village, with 9 genin coming to take the exam. The expressions of these people after seeing Konoha were similar to those of the Sheing village before. The ones who came after that were all small villages. At this time, Kurikage village had already fallen into Obito's hands and there was no time to come. If you have time to take part in the Chunin exam, why not massacre a few more bloodstained families in your own family? Needless to say, there is no need to say more about the Cloud Shadow village. How could the 4th Raikage come to Konoha casually with his bad temper? They haven't even come to discuss war compensation with Konoha until now, let alone the Chunin exam. After seeing the expressions of the people in Sheing village and Toying village, Chen Tian went back to rest on his own. This rest lasted for 5 days, and the Chunin officially began. After a procrastinating breakfast, Chenshin arrived at the venue for the first exam. The first exam is a written exam, so it is all indoors. Bang! After opening the door and entering the examination room, Chen Tian found that more than 500 people were looking at him. After taking a closer look, I found that there were more than 300 people here who were actually from Konoha. Except for the 3 people from Sand Shadow Village and the 9 people from Tsuchikage Village, the rest are all from unknown Shounen villages. So just after taking a look, Chen Tian lost interest. I didn't bother to argue with these people, so I walked in and started to do it, waiting for the assessment to start. Who is this person? He has such a big air. You're actually the last one to arrive. I have to give you some clues for the next assessment. You're a little kid, only 5 or 6 years old. How can you take part in the assessment? That's right, if you come to take the assessment at such a young age, you don't take us seriously. Chenshin didn't expect that he would arouse public anger like this. These people looked at Chenshin's 6 or 7-year-old appearance and felt that Konoha looked down on them and would allow such a child to play. Everyone is eagerly waiting for the second assessment to begin so that he can teach this boy a lesson and let him know what a senior is. Chenshin didn't bother to take these things to heart, since he didn't intend to let these people pass the final assessment anyway. As long as you deal with all these people in the second assessment, you won't have to take part in the third assessment. I'm such a little genius. After praising himself, Chenshin suddenly felt happy. After hearing what these people said, those Konoha genin just looked at these people with pity and hurriedly distanced themselves from them. Although Chen Tian is young, his reputation in Konoha is almost as good as that of Hokage. They don't want Chen Tian to hold a grudge. Who doesn't know that this guy has the strength of a Junin? What should I do if I get beaten? Such behavior made other people a little puzzled, but they didn't take it seriously. Not long after, Shikaku Nara, the examiner of the first assessment, came and handed out a paper to everyone, with 10 questions on each worth 10 points. Only after answering 6 questions correctly can you advance to the next round of assessment. You are not allowed to cheat in the assessment. 10 points will be deducted for each discovery. Leave the venue directly after 5 times. Start answering the questions now. Nara Shikaku didn't pretend to be a fool. He announced the rules in an orderly manner and then the assessment began. It's just that most of the time his eyes were on Chen Tian, and he was too lazy to look at anyone else. The purpose of this assessment is to collect intelligence, and it just so happens that Chen Tian is next to the Chunin who was arranged to come in. As long as he copied down his answer, he would pass, so Chen Tian was not in a hurry to start, but looked at the others with interest. Number 45 cheats once, 10 points will be deducted. Number 107 cheated 3 times, 10 points will be deducted. Number 233 cheated 5 times and left the field with his teammates. The examiner's voice kept ringing. Chen Tian shook his head repeatedly. Isn't it a joke to take the Chunin exam at this level? And it was only now that Chen Tian discovered that the others were all in groups of 3, and it seemed that he was the only one in a group. Minato, you didn't tell me such a thing, just wait for me. After cursing fiercely in his heart, he calmed down. Looking at Chen Tian doing nothing, Nara Shikaku was also a little confused. He has heard of Chenshin's name many times. He doesn't believe that this kind of test can be as difficult as Chenshin's. But half of the assessment time has passed, why doesn't he still take action? Thinking about it from his perspective, Nara Shikaku really couldn't figure out what method Chen Tian would use. You've finally finished writing. At this moment, the Chunin next to Chenshin filled the test paper with correct answers. Looking at this Chunin, Chen Tian chuckled, and his smile was a little perverted. The next moment, he stretched out and put his left hand on the test paper on the table. The fingertips of his right hand accidentally touched the Chunin's test paper. Shua! In an instant, Chen Tian's white test paper appeared on the Chunin's table, and the other party's test paper fell into his hand. No one except Nara Shikaku noticed this scene, and even the other examiners couldn't tell. Only the examiner who was arranged to come in looked confused and somewhat doubtful about life. It is true that I came in to ask you to copy my answers, but you actually didn't even let go of my paper. Do you know how tiring it is to write such a paper? The only one who knew what was going on, Shikaku Nara, had his mouth twitching. If he hadn't seen Minato use this ninjutsu before, he would definitely not know what was going on. We are testing intelligence gathering capabilities, not stealing things. Looking at the densely packed test papers in his hands, Chen Tian smiled proudly, casually changed his name and put them down. I feel contempt for other people in my heart. You guys have worked so hard to copy, it's really too low. Before, he just used his own original ninjutsu to carry the space with him. Put your left hand on your own test paper and put it in. Your right hand accidentally touched the other person's test paper and put it away in the same way. Then it is released at the moment it is put away. As long as the time is controlled well, no one can see it. Just like now, even the original owner of the paper is confused. After finishing the trick, Chen Tian lay down on the table and started to sleep, not bothering to look at the other people's anxious expressions of winking and winking. Half an hour later, the first assessment ended, and nearly 200 people were eliminated because of cheating. This resulted in more than 500 ninjas who originally participated in the assessment, and now only more than 300 were left. This is not the final number yet. After the examiners read the test papers, those with scores less than 60 points will be eliminated. According to Chen Tian's estimation, it would be considered good if there were only 100 people left. But these had nothing to do with him. It would be best if all these people were eliminated, so he left the examination room swaggeringly. But he didn't see that in an unknown Shao ninja village after he left, a man of 14 or 15 years old with several hideous scars on his face stared at him and followed him out of the examination room. Quote, with his name I really don't know what his name is, because he is too young. Even the ninja who leads the team is just a chunin, so no one cares about them at all. After leaving the examination room, Chen Tian wandered around alone. Walking and stopping along the way, we arrived at the number 4 training ground before we knew it. This is the beginning of his journey as a ninja. Perhaps because of the chunin examination, Metkai was not here for the first time. In boredom, Chen Tian was about to leave, but the moment he turned around, a ferocious fire dragon flew from behind. 2 escape, 2 lubi. Boom, water release, big explosive water wave. After blocking the fire dragon, Chen Tian released the ninjutsu as fast as possible without even looking at it. It wasn't until the waterfall-like water rushed out that he had time to observe who was attacking him. At this sight, Chen Tian understood clearly that it was actually the people from the money exchange who had come to Konoha to kill him. There was a 3-petaled white flower on this man's right sleeve. Jiraiya told him that this was the symbol of the gold exchange. This man with a scarred face, Chen Tian still remembered, was one of the people who took the chunin exam before. Okay. Angrily laughing, Chen Tian's voice was filled with murderous intent. You dare to come to Konoha, then you don't have to leave. Fire release, fire dragon bullet. Water escape, water dragon bullet. Suddenly, 2 dragons, 1 water and 1 fire, circled and flew towards each other. Chenshin himself used a teleportation technique to temporarily disappear from the enemy's sight. The Reikiri on his right hand quietly appeared, and he galloped away. Seeing Chen Tian's reaction so quickly, the visitor immediately released the earth flow wall and started to defend. However, under the impact of the 2 dragons of water and fire, the earth flow wall only lasted for a second before breaking. But this second gave him room to dodge, allowing him to use the teleportation technique to escape. But the next second, Chen Tian's figure suddenly appeared, and his blue right hand stabbed hard into the chest of the visitor. Bang! Smoke rose, and the man's body suddenly disappeared. The person who died was just a shadow clone. And this man has appeared behind Chen Tian, stabbing Chen Tian with the kunai in his hand. Thunder escape, earth walk. Morning day was well prepared, and the seals made in advance were immediately released. A bolt of thunder flashed, and the person behind him stopped instantly. Chen Tian flicked his right hand, and Leiki cut the person's nose mercilessly. The next moment, the man's body was separated, and he could no longer die. Although Konoha has expanded several times, it is still a place dominated by ninjas. Therefore, places such as the training ground have been preserved. In this way, it will be convenient for the ninjas in the village to train and improve their strength smoothly. It is precisely because of this that the ninja from the money exchange dared to attack Chen Tian here. Just after the battle was resolved, Kakashi came here with several Anbu. Seeing Chenshin standing here as if nothing had happened, Kakashi was immediately speechless. Why is it that you are the one who gets into trouble every time? Kakashi has a lot of resentment towards Chenshin. Did he know that Jiraiya-sama's intimate paradise has been put on sale? You have to cause trouble every day, and it will delay my appreciation of Jiraiya-sama's works. That means Chenshin doesn't know what Kakashi is thinking, otherwise he would definitely let him know why the flowers are so red. Yo, it's you again, Kakashi. Chenshin is smiling on the outside, but MMP in his heart. It doesn't matter if it's this guy every time, but can you not be a step late every time? I have already dealt with the enemy, what do I want you to do? What is the difference between you and the police of a certain country in your previous life? Every time, the floor is cleaned afterwards. The two chatted for a while and then left. Chenshin soon returned home. After having a meal with Kushina, Chenshin returned to his room. Minato had too many things to do during this time, and he had to work overtime for a long time every day, so he didn't go home to eat. After closing the bedroom door, Chen Tian thought about today's events. He must have recognized that mark correctly. It was the mark of the money exchange. Obviously, this person sneaked into a small ninja village and came to Konoha to assassinate himself. Besides this person, is there anyone else? Are this man's other 2 companions from the money exchange? You're stuck with me, right? Okay, let's have some fun and see who can outplay who. It just so happens that my strength still needs to be improved. Chasing and killing again and again made Chen Tian completely hairy. He was just a rat who didn't dare to show his face. Do you really think you are invincible? He also inquired with Jiraiya about the power of the money exchange and had a rough idea. There are all kinds of people in the money exchange, among which ninjas and samurai are the most common, and there are also very rare onmyoji. The weakest of these people are just genin, but the strong ones are enough to rival or even kill elite junin. No one knows who the leader of the money exchange is, only that it has existed for 1,000 years. No matter how turbulent the ninja world is, the money exchange has never been destroyed. Had he not known the details of Heiju, Chen Tian would have thought that this force was created by Heiju. Desperate fatwa. Recalling Jiraiya's serious expression when he told this, a cold smile flashed across the corner of Chen Chen's lips. As long as someone dares to kill the people in the money exchange, will they be willing to die? According to what Jiraiya said, no matter who kills a dog in the money exchange will continue to chase and kill that person until he dies. Morning sneered at these words. Why didn't these people jump like that when Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara were around? After reviewing the information he knew, Chenshin decided to leave Konoha after the Chunin examination was over. Then destroy all the gold exchange places you can find and get cards from those people. It just so happens that he can only get cards by killing enemies, and since he doesn't have many enemies, he has them delivered to his door. Go to Jiraiya tomorrow and ask him where he knows the location of the money exchange. After muttering something, Chen Tian pulled up the quilt and fell asleep. I slept until dawn. After eating breakfast prepared by Kushina herself, I arrived at the entrance of the Death Forest. Glancing around, there were only 106 ninjas left among the more than 300 ninjas yesterday, that is, 35 groups and himself. He scratched his head in distress, then stopped thinking and stood there blankly. This kid, who is still a little kid, actually dares to take the exam alone. We will teach him a lesson later. Hey, let him know that the Chunin exam is not a ninja game for children. You guys are a little bored, but let's do whatever you want. Among the 105 people, many of them looked at Chen Tian covetously and showed hostility. The Chunin examination held by Konoha sent a child to participate. Does this mean that they are worthy of competing with Konoha's 6-year-old children? Who are you looking down on? Of course, there are some money exchange people who say this deliberately, hoping to muddy the water and fish in troubled waters. I am the chief examiner of the second assessment, Akamichi Dingza, and the next person who will take part in the assessment will sign the certificate of life and death. It was only then that Chen Tian came to his senses. He had known these things for a long time, so he stepped forward and wrote his name casually. After everyone signed, Akamichi Choza began to announce the rules. There are 12 scrolls in the Death Forest, all hidden in dangerous places. You have 5 days to find the scrolls and reach the central tower to pass. Just after Akamichi Dingzao finished speaking, except for the Konoha ninjas, almost everyone looked at Chenshin. One scroll can allow one team to pass, up to 12 teams. There are now 36 teams here, and there are too many monks and too little food. So every team is an enemy, and the weakest among them is Chen Tian, who has only one person and is the youngest. Some teams that did not search for ninjutsu made up their minds to eliminate other teams and then slowly search for them themselves. Or wait for others to find it before snatching it. Having caught all the eyes of these people, Chen Tian showed a disdainful smile. Even the Junin you led here are no match for me. You really don't know how high the world is. Come in now. As soon as he finished speaking, several Chunin behind him opened the iron door, allowing Chen Tian and others to enter. Everyone was assigned to different entrances, and the one where Chenshin was located was No. 44. Ignoring the looks of those people, he walked in boldly. Tisk tisk tisk, entrance number 44 to the Forest of Death, this is really it. No matter what he thought, it was unlucky. Chen Tian wanted to hang up the ninja who arranged for him and beat him. Kakashi, who was helping Minato sort out information in the Hokage's office, suddenly shivered and felt a chill on his back. Kakashi, are you sick? The gentle voice dispelled the deathly chill, and Minato looked at Kakashi with concern. Ah, it's okay. Shaking his head, Kakashi threw himself into the pile of documents again. After entering the Forest of Death, Chen Tiansai found that he seemed to have no detecting ninjutsu at all, and he relied entirely on luck to find the scroll, which made him feel numb. He tugged at his dark hair in distress and walked towards the central tower. Since you can't find it yourself, just wait for those who can find it. After robbing their scroll, won't you find it yourself? However, it will take some time for these people to find the scrolls. You only need to arrive within 1 day, so there is no need to rush. Thinking about this, I walked slowly in the morning like a walk, looking at my surroundings from time to time. I have been in Konoha for almost a year, and this is the first time I have entered the Death Forest. In another part of the Death Forest, 3 genin from Kusanagi village were discussing. Yesterday, the guy who broke through went to find Chen Tian, but he hasn't come back yet. Even his team can't participate in the second assessment. I told that guy a long time ago not to act without authorization. He insisted on taking the credit for himself. Apparently he died in Konoha. It should be dead, no matter how dead it is, the more one dies, the more credit we will get. I remember that the entrance to Chenshin is No. 44. Let's go find him, don't let others beat us to it. Within a few words, several people came to the conclusion and rushed towards the direction of Chenshin. Not far away from them, there was also a team from Shao Ninja Village who made the same remarks and headed towards the morning sky. These 2 groups of ninja teams came here just to kill Chenshin, and each of them had the strength of a Jonin level. Although he is not as strong as the guy yesterday, he is not far behind. In addition to these 2 teams, there were many teams from other villages also heading towards the morning sky. In addition to teaching Chen Tian a lesson, they also wanted to eliminate other teams as soon as possible. Only the genin who belong to Konoha know the horror of morning sky, and their guiding Junin also specially reminded it. So these people were looking for the scroll very obediently, and moved away from the direction of Chenshin without leaving a trace. Chenshin naturally didn't know this. He was already hungry after entering the Death Forest for a while. After getting a fat rabbit with 1 shuriken, he started grilling it on the spot. After a while, the golden oil stains on the rabbit meat shimmered, making people want to eat it. Not bad, but the taste is a bit bland. Took a bite of the rabbit's thigh happily, and Chen Tian showed a satisfied smile. Ha ha ha, this kid is really here. Suddenly, 3 ninjas wearing forehead protectors from the grass ninja village appeared in front of Chen Tian. A glance glanced slightly, never seen it, obviously there were some dragons. There are 2 men and 1 woman. The 2 men are ignored directly, but the woman is interesting. Although his appearance is not extraordinary, it can be considered to be above average. The main reason is his figure. He is big where he should be big and small where he should be small. There is a kind of wildness all over the body, which makes people feel a sense of conquest. It's a pity that he came to kill himself, so he could only destroy the flower with his own hands. After sighing, Chenshin slowly raised his head and said, "Wait for a while, wait until I finish eating before I start." After finishing speaking, he immediately lowered his head and chewed his delicious food. Seeking death. Looking at Chen Tian's attitude, the 3 of them became angry on the spot. "We are here to kill you, why don't you give us some reaction? Are you looking down on us like that?" The leading man pulled out a knife. The sharp cold light flashing on the knife made people's eyes sting. He should be a swordsman of the type like Hatake Sakumo. The other man is making seals with his hands, preparing to release ninjutsu. Is he a ninjutsu type Junin? The girl retreated quietly. She was obviously an auxiliary ninja. With just 1 glance, Chen Tian was able to analyze the situation of these 3 people. Looking at it expressionlessly, Chen Tian swallowed the rabbit meat in his mouth and felt that he was not panicked at all. Then when the 3 of them were about to move, they softly uttered 1 word, "Explode." Boom, 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 not good. After seeing Chen Tian's mouth shape, the 3 of them hurriedly backed away, but unfortunately it was already too late. Continuous explosions sounded, and Chen Tian slowly continued to taste his own delicious food. The sound lasted for more than 10 seconds before the explosion stopped. Looking up, Chenshin's surroundings were in ruins, and there were craters everywhere left by the explosion of the detonating talisman. The 3 ninjas have disappeared, leaving only a few shining cards on the ruins. If he had known that someone had ill intentions towards him, how could Chen Tian not be prepared? Around him, tens of thousands of detonating symbols were buried underground, in all directions. Just now the detonating talisman was detonated in one direction. After being assassinated yesterday, Chen Tian spent all his wealth and spent 1 billion to purchase the detonating talisman. I took out all the detonating talismans of Tiantian, who is now only 1 year old. After finishing the rabbit meat slowly and wiping his mouth casually, Chen Tian stood up and started to pick up the cards. Purple cards add 100 points to strength. Do you want to fuse them? The blue card is chakra plus 100 points. Do you want to fuse it? The purple card is earth escape. Earth escape. Is it fused? The purple card is the perception ninjutsu. Earth flow tremor jutsu. Is it fused? As expected of 3 Jonins, they are so powerful. He smiled with satisfaction and immediately chose fusion. The long-lost warmth reappeared, flowing cleverly in Chen Tian's body, strengthening his body bit by bit. 2 seconds later, this comfortable feeling disappeared, and Chen Tian knew that the fusion was over. The system panel was opened immediately. Host, Chen Tian. Talent, Space Talent LV3. Taijutsu, Konoha Great Whirlwind LV4. Omitted for full level. Ninjutsu, Portable Space LV1, Go Fireball Technique LV6, Earth Flood Wall Technique LV5, Earth Dragon Bullet Technique LV5, Reikiri LV4, Big Explosive Water Wave LV8, Water Formation Wall LV5, Water Dragon Bullet LV5, Teleportation Technique LV7, Tailed Beast Jade LV2. Earth Flow City Wall LV4, Thunder Escape Earth Walking LV5, Earth Escape Technique LV4, Earth Flow Shaking Technique LV8. Omitted for full level. Sword Skills. Secret Manual, Drawing the Sword and Cutting at LV7, Secret Manual, Yan Wei at LV3. Medical Ninjutsu. Palm Immortal Technique, Healing Technique, and the Technique of Extracting Minor Ailments. Sealing Technique. Omitted. Physique. Thousand Hand Constitution. Physical Fitness. Chunin. Losing Chakra can defeat Chunin. Comprehensive Combat Power. Elite Jonin. Although his strength has increased a lot, his evaluation has not been improved because he has failed in other aspects. His overall combat power is still that of an elite Junin. Don't care about these mornings. There is a quasi-shadow above the elite Junin, and the quasi-shadow is above the shadow. There is still a long way to go. On the contrary, he likes those 2 ninjutsu very much. Escape can increase his fighting style. What surprised him the most was the earthly tremor technique. This ninjutsu could sense people and animals within a 3-kilometer radius through the vibrations of the earth. In this way, it makes up for his shortcomings in one aspect and makes him more comprehensive. After doing this, Chen Tian picked up the knife left by the swordsman and lightly wiped it, leaving a wound on his finger. Good knife. Just keep it for yourself. Looking at the knife skills on the system panel, Chen Tian felt even more satisfied. The technique of earth current shaking. After putting away the knife, Chen Tian released the perception ninjutsu, and the next moment he found that there were ninjas coming around him. Less than 1 squad, and as many as 3 squads. Looking at the surrounding environment, Chen Tian murmured, "It seems that we have to change the place. It is difficult to find people here." Not long after Chen Tian left, a group of 3 genin appeared here. You should have gone through a battle, and you can feel where the person is. After taking a glance at the messy scene, the 3 of them came to a conclusion. After a while, an ordinary little fat man said, "Chen Tian has left here, and the other 3 idiots are dead." Chase. The strong man in the lead let out a low roar and took the lead in catching up. The little fat man and the other genin looked at each other and followed suit. Although the 3 idiots died in Chen Tian's hands, they were not worried at all. The traces around them have made it very clear. They died on the detonating talisman without even raising their hands. They were obviously ambushed. As long as you are careful not to be ambushed, it won't be a problem to capture Chen Tian. Speaking of it, the 3 of them are very curious about the organization. It is obvious that the people inside have no feelings at all, and some even have hatred for each other. But as long as someone is killed, a death order must be issued, which is simply ridiculous. But for the sake of credit, they don't bother to worry about that much, as long as they complete the task. After they left, people continued to come, but after seeing the ruins, they all left. When they meet by chance on the road, a big battle will break out. Some people will escape and others will be eliminated. The cruelty of the Chunin assessment has begun to be revealed. After leaving the place, Chen Tian no longer stayed in Duliu, but rushed to the central tower as fast as he could. He didn't want to continue playing ninja games with these genin. It was more important to eliminate the money exchange after it was over as soon as possible. With lightning speed, it only took Chenshin 2 hours to reach the central tower. After looking around, he felt quite satisfied, so he reburied the detonating talisman he had dug out before, and added a lot more. After a while, various numbers of detonating symbols were distributed within a 300-meter range around the entrance to the central tower. These detonating talismans completely blocked the entrance. As long as there is no consent from Chen Tian, no one can enter. After this period of fighting, Chen Tian likes the detonating talisman more and more. You don't even have to fight yourself, you can blow up the enemy. It's really not that exciting. After doing this, he found a random place and began to fall asleep, but he still remained vigilant secretly. Among the remaining ninjas, no one knows if there is anyone from the money exchange, so they must be careful. After a while, 3 ninjas rushed towards him on the road. Opened his eyes slightly and glanced at the 3 of them. Chen Tian knew it in his heart. Coming from the direction he came from, and traveling so fast, he obviously came here just for himself. The person who gave up the scroll for himself in this examination room was probably the ninja from the money exchange. After taking a glance at the forehead protectors on their foreheads, Chen Tian was shocked to find that he didn't know which ninja village this was. It was really strange. Be careful, there must be detonating symbols around. Looking at Chen Tian sleeping casually from a distance, the strong man in the lead immediately realized something was wrong. The 3 of them stopped 500 meters away and began to sense it, but the next moment their faces became ugly. It's 300 meters in radius. How many detonating symbols are needed? If they couldn't beat this guy, the 3 of them would have let this loser know why the flowers are so red. But the next moment they ran into trouble. The distance of 300 meters was simply beyond the reach of their ninjutsu. At the very least, you need to be a shadow-level master to try it. I wanted to go around it, but there was no place to put my foot among the densely packed detonating symbols. What should we do now? We can't reach him. I don't know either. I can't lie to that kid. He's not a fool. With that said, the little fat man and the other person turned their attention to the strong man at the same time, waiting for him to make up his mind. The strong man did it and said, "Wait, there is no way, our chakra is not enough for us to break in." You didn't expect that there would be no chakra in front of him, right? Various ninjutsu bombings can completely solve these detonating symbols, but the chakra of the 3 of them does not support this. After each person releases 4 or 5 ninjas, how can he still fight in front of Chenshin? What's the difference between that and giving someone a gift? But they wanted to wait, and Chen Tian didn't want to let them go. The first time he saw these 3 people, Chen Tian was murderous. All the people in the money exchange must die. After leaving a full-level clone on the spot, he escaped into the ground and began to move slowly behind the 3 people. The full-level clone technique is not easy to see through, and with the distance of 300 meters, even if the 3 people kept staring, they did not notice that Chen Tian had disappeared. It took a full 5 minutes for Chen Tian to arrive in the forest behind the 3 of them. Water release, big explosive water wave. Thunder escape, earth walk. After taking a short rest, Chen Tian's hands quickly formed seals as if they were phantoms, and he shot out a combination of ninjutsu. By the time the 3 of them discovered it, the water had already reached them, and thunder and lightning followed the next moment. These thunder and lightning cannot cause much damage to them, but they can control them for a moment. Just as the 3 of them were twitching, the attack from Chenshin followed again. Water escape, water dragon bullet. Fire release, fire dragon bullet. In an instant, the water and fire dragons came out one after another, hitting the 3 of them without any mercy. Boom! The 2 dragons suddenly fell to the ground and opened up a large pit of more than 10 meters. The pit was full of scorch marks. Perhaps because he was a descendant of a dragon in his previous life, Chen Tian likes to use this dragon-shaped ninjutsu very much. Ever since I learned these 2 ninjas, I have to use one in every battle. After the aftermath of the incident, only one strong man was left in the original 3-person group, and the remaining 2 were wearing braids at the same time. Hoo-ho! Panting heavily, the strong man used the water formation wall at the moment when the 2 dragons came, and he barely survived. But even so, he was seriously injured. Stop! I want to withdraw from the assessment. Seeing Chen Tian continue to form seals, the strong man could not sit still. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Chen Tian's hand did not slow down at all, and he said leisurely, "If you want to kill me, come here. If you fail, do you still want to go back alive?" Hearing this, the strong man's face suddenly turned pale. Now that Chen Tian knew about it, there was absolutely no chance of letting him go. Under the danger of death, this man also broke out. The speed of forming seals with both hands almost caught up with the morning sky, and an afterimage floated. In fact, if his legs were not injured and unable to move, he would have run away long ago. Who would be stupid enough to fight with someone? Fire escape. The powerful fire is extinguished. The strong man was about to take action, but unfortunately it was too late. With the seal formation could be better than him a long time ago, and he's even faster than him, so what should he compare to? Earth escape. Earth dragon bullet. It was the same as before, except that the yellow dragon with a different color rushed over like a runaway wild horse. Boom. After a period of tremors, the world once again returned to calm. The broken body of the strong man was on the ground, and his appearance could hardly be seen clearly. Chen Tian shook his head and said with some disgust, "As expected, water dragon bombs and fire dragon bombs are better, as they won't leave corpses. This earth dragon bomb is too miserable. Water dragon bullets can wash away corpses, fire dragon bullets can completely burn them, and after being hit by earth dragon bullets, there is nothing left but meat paste, disgusting." However, Chen Tian did not deal with the battlefield, but hurriedly picked up the cards. The purple card is fire escape, fire extinguishing. Is it fused? The purple card increases the speed by 100, do you want to fuse it? The purple card is the art of multiple shadow clones. Is it fused? The blue card is chakra plus 100, do you want to fuse it? There was another series of purple and blue cards, and Chen Tian chose to fuse them all without a second thought. Chen Tian found that the cards dropped after killing Junin were all of high levels, which made him lose interest in those Genin and Chunin. After this fusion, his physical fitness has reached that of an elite Chunin, but his overall evaluation has not changed. This made him more or less depressed. After picking up the card, Chen Tian found a wooden board, carved the words, detonating symbols for a radius of 300 meters, on it, and inserted the wooden board next to the body. Then he moved away from the corpse and found a place to start recovering chakra. Although the previous battle ended very quickly, almost an instant kill, he still used ninjutsu a lot. The first is the clone technique and the earth escape technique, then the big water blast and the 3 dragons. Except for the first 2, the weakest of the last 4 are also B-level ninjutsu, or else they are A-level, which consumes a lot of chakra. Like this, half a day passed. The sun set in the west and cast a ray of sunset. Finally, a small team arrived in front of the central tower. This is a team from Sand Shadow Village. They did not participate in many battles. They arrived here quickly after finding the scroll with their powerful detection ninjutsu. The 3 of them saw the inhuman corpse from a long distance, and they immediately became vigilant. When I got closer, I saw the sign posted by Chen Tian, and I was immediately at a loss. But the corpses on the ground told them that what was written on this sign was absolutely true. While the 3 of them were hesitating, a calm voice sounded from behind. "Since you are here, there must be someone with a scroll, please hand it over obediently." This voice came from behind the 3 of them. They were so frightened that they jumped up on the spot and exclaimed, "Who? What person?" After the 3 of them were far away, they saw the appearance of Chen Tian. But no one dares to underestimate him now. Who else can quietly appear behind them? Although they were vigilant, they did not want to hand over the hard-earned scroll. After seeing what they meant, Chen Tian pointed to the soles of their feet and said, "You are all within the range of the detonating talisman. If you don't hand over, I will detonate it." Hearing this, the 3 of them looked down and turned pale. One of the girls said, "I checked, and what he said is true. Throw out the scroll and I will let you out. As for the ninjas outside the money exchange, Chenshin has no killing intention. In the next 4 battles, they will all be his own, and if there is one more, it will be one." The other party looked at each other and obediently threw the scroll out. After picking up the scroll, Chen Tian performed an almost perfect teleportation technique and appeared behind the 3 of them before they could react. Bang! Bang, bang. 3 hand knives fell in succession, and the 3 Shang village genin fainted gorgeously. Drag these 3 people under the big tree within the range of the detonating talisman. The man will be stripped naked and hung on the tree, while the woman will be hung directly on the tree. Each one will be hung upside down. Because the river crab master is too powerful, Chen Tian does not dare to make mistakes, so the man still has some underwear. After dealing with these 3 people, Chen Tian released a shadow clone to hunt, and returned to the place leisurely. After a while, the shadow clone came back with a pheasant. He killed the chicken, plucked its feathers, cleaned its internal organs, and grilled it. After the one-stop operation, Chenshin, who had eaten and drank enough, slowly walked into the central tower and began to rest. If you don't take the initiative to open the scroll, the assessment will not be considered passed. Chenshin can continue to block the door. Several Junin examiners in the tower looked helpless at this situation, but they had no choice. What should I do if I go up to reason with Chen Tian and get beaten? They all see Chen Tian's strength, they can't beat him. Report it to Hokage-sama, let this kid continue, and all these candidates will be wiped out. Clenched his teeth and stamped his feet, one of the Junin examiners made up his mind. Just when he was about to leave to report, he saw a cute little face appearing in front of him, but the voice made him feel cold all over. The outside is full of detonating talismans. If you go out, you will be blown up and no one will be left alive. After saying this leisurely, Chen Tian returned to his resting place again and began to fall asleep. I want to complete the Chunin exams all at once, so how can I let them interrupt me? What should I do? The Junin asked helplessly to the others. It doesn't matter whether he is strong or not. Even if it were someone else with the strength of Chen Tian, he would definitely not be used to it. But this guy's background shouldn't be too big, so he can't afford to offend him at all. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru are the Sannin of Konoha, Minato Namikaze is the Hokage, and Kushina Uzumaki is the 9-tailed Jinchuriki. Others are fine, but Tsunade and Kushina won't care so much. If you dare to mess with my cubs, I'll beat you up. It just so happens that no one can control these 2 people. Besides these, if he dared to lay a finger on Chenshin, the Konoha villagers would definitely make him commit seppuku. Morden is the person who reformed Konoha. Almost everyone thinks of him well. By then, even the Hokage may not be able to protect him. Thinking of this, the Junin felt sad. Bang, bang. The next moment, he heard several familiar voices, turned around and was stunned. The 4 ninjas except him had already fainted. They knocked each other out. If you faint, take me with you. Looking at his palm with tears in his eyes, he gritted his teeth, stamped his foot, and slashed his neck viciously. The next moment, there was a bang, and the Junin made a silent protest with his actions. You can intimidate my body, but my spirit will never give in. Chen Tian, who was not asleep yet, was stunned and almost made his eyes pop out. Is this what you are doing? Let me ask you what. It's a pity that no one can answer his question. Early the next morning, Chenshin woke up. When he got up, he found that the 5 ninjas who had fainted had changed into a comfortable position, and there was a roast rabbit next to him. Thank you. After thanking him, Chen Tian's lips twitched when he saw the 5 people showing no reaction. This guy's pretending is pretty similar, aren't you afraid that you'll fall asleep later? However, he didn't expose it and went to guard the door after breakfast. Looking at Chen Tian leaving, the 5 people all had a smile on their lips. For Chen Tian, there is no one among them, or in Konoha, who dislikes them, except for those ambitious people. To put it bluntly, Chen Tian's contribution to Konoha is not much less than that of the first generation, and he is so cute, and he is usually a good and polite boy. Chenshin guarded the gate for 3 days. After grabbing all 12 scrolls, he dug out the detonating talisman and ended the second Chunin test 1 day ahead of schedule. During this period, it was not that no one wanted to resist, but they all went to accompany the 3 genin from Sand Shadow Village to play on the swings. Only the genin of Konoha could keep their clothes, but they did not escape the fate of swinging. By the time the assessment was over in the morning, the outside of the central tower was covered in white flowers, which looked very dazzling. The 5 hard-working examiners also slept for 3 whole days. They could only go hunting in the morning and get themselves some food after falling asleep. Chen Tian felt quite embarrassed, so he decided to treat these 5 people to a big meal after the assessment. In this way, this Chunin test ended in an unprecedented and strange manner. When Minato and others learned about this situation, they were all dumbfounded and expressed their disbelief. In the end, the facts hit them hard in the face. Chenshin returned home happily and enjoyed Kushina's cooking skills. But Minato was one big and too big, and he even invited the daimyo and the 4th Sand Shadow Rasa to visit in the 3rd round of the Chunin examination. But now there is only one person. What a trip! With no choice but to choose 11 people from the eliminated genin to participate in the 3rd assessment with Chen Tian. However, this was rejected righteously by Chen Tian. He said that these people had been eliminated by him and were not qualified to participate in the assessment with him. What a joke! You spent so much effort to end it early, and you still want me to participate. I'm afraid you're not dreaming. Minato was just about to suppress it with force, but who knew that Chenshin actually went to Kushina to report it. As a result, Minato was suppressed by Kushina. In the end, only one more person could be selected to replace Chenshin, and he was directly given the title of Chunin. Originally, Chenshin said he didn't care about the title of Chunin Jonin, but when he thought about how powerful Konoha Genin would be in the future, he rejected Minato's appointment. And to express it righteously, no matter how strong a shadow-level person is, the most powerful in Konoha will always be Genin. For this reason, he also wants to become an honorable Genin, forget about being a Chunin or something like that. Minato was stunned for a moment, completely unable to understand Chen Tian's brain circuit. As far as he knows, isn't it the same as playing for a shadow-level strongman to kill hundreds of genin instantly? He, Namikaze Minato, a shadow-level strongman, once killed 50 Junin in one go. Since when did Konoha's genin become so awesome that they even look down on shadow-level experts? Why does he, the Hokage, not know anything about such a thing? Because of this incident, many fans of Chenshin later expressed their intention to become ninjas. As a result, a group of powerful genin appeared in Konoha, including Naruto and Sasuke. All major ninja villages have issued orders that they can give up their missions when encountering Konoha genin without being punished. Of course, these are all things for later. Anyway, after Chen Tian rejected Minato, he was still a Konoha genin. Chunin exams for Chenshin are over for the time being, but the other contestants remember him deeply and spread the news about his deeds wildly after returning to their respective ninja villages. However, Chen Tian didn't know about these things. He only knew that others were still struggling to take the exam, and he had already celebrated his birthday happily at home. This day happens to be Chen Tian's birthday, and he is already 7 years old. Minato rarely took time to celebrate Chenshin's birthday, and invited Kakashi and Metkai, who had the best relationship with Chenshin. Besides them, there are also people like Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Orochimaru. This made Chen Tian lament that he had no reputation at all, and there were only so few people. After a lively birthday party, naturally comes the exciting part of opening gifts. First of all, it belongs to Kushina. It's nothing, just an ordinary scabbard. Evidently he saw that his newly acquired sword scabbard was damaged by the explosion, so he specially prepared it. Although it is not valuable, Chenshin likes it very much. As for what is valuable, as long as Konoha has it, there is nothing he can't get. What is valuable? The second one was Minato's gift, and inside it was the Flying Thunder God's Scroll, which Chen Tian was extremely greedy for. I didn't pick it up before, and I won't have the chance in the future, so I can't kill Minato. So I can only practice by myself. Fortunately, my spatial talent is good, and this gift is also very good. The next gift was a little weird, and the corners of Chen Tian's mouth twitched to the point of twitching. Metkei's gift was a green tights, his most proud work, which Chen Tian couldn't appreciate. Kakashi and Jiraiya's gifts are both Intimate Heaven, but one is a collector's edition and the other is a special signed edition. This thing is indeed the most precious and proud to Kakashi and Jiraiya. If you are willing to give it away, you know how good their relationship with Chen Tian is. So Chenshin could only reluctantly accept their wishes, and then use the gift to pad the corner of the table. Tsunade's gift was much simpler and more direct. The strange power training scroll made Chen Tian very happy. But what shocked him the most was Orochimaru's gift. It was not a snake or anything like that, but 50% of the income from all his inventions. This is incredible. You must know that the development of Konoha today basically depends on Orochimaru, and his income is even more than that of the entire Konoha. Even if it is 50%, Chenshin will have several billions a year, which can kill people with money. Just before morning, I spent all my savings, and now I am not afraid of running out of money. If nothing else, let's buy tens of thousands of detonating talismans to play with. After his birthday, Chen Tian had a lot of free time. He practicing strange powers and flying thunder every day, and there was nothing else to do. A month later, the Chunin exams were completely over, and Chen Tian had also learned the strange power, although it was just an introduction. In the system panel, there is an addition of the words, Guili LV1. It's just that flying the Thunder God is not that easy. It is still being explored and cannot be mastered for the time being. After the people from other villages left, he couldn't bear it any longer. After talking to Minato, he left Konoha. People from the gold exchange office have come to Konoha to kill themselves. How can we not do anything to them? After leaving Konoha, he did not act blindly, but took out the map he had drawn before asking Jiraiya and others. The locations of more than 100 gold exchange houses are marked on it, all of which Jiraiya and others have known over the years. There are gold exchange offices in each country. Although they do not have their headquarters, Chenshin is ready to catch them all. Originally, Minato, Jiraiya, Orochimaru and others wanted to help, but they were all rejected by Chenshin. His own enemies naturally have to be killed by himself, let alone getting cards. Chen Tian doesn't want to find a teammate for him to kill. The first target was the capital of the Kingdom of Fire. After putting away the map, Chen Tian started on his way. Unexpectedly, before he took action, people from the money exchange had already blocked him on the road. All the people who were in Konoha died before. They didn't know the specific reason, and they thought it was Konoha who took action. So the force that came to rob and kill Chen Tian was not strong, that is, it was just 3 ordinary Junin and 9 Chunin. Boy, you can feel honored to allow us to take action in person. SB. Swearing secretly, Chen Tiansai was too lazy to argue with the opponent. If he could do it, he wouldn't do it. When the other party said harsh words, he had already summoned 3 shadow clones, and greeted him with water dragon bullets, earth dragon bullets and fire dragon bullets. The main body used a more powerful fire to extinguish, and one person displayed the power of a Jonin team. Young people don't respect martial ethics. Seeing Chen Tian take action without saying a word, the 12 people on the other side suddenly started to panic. But a Junin is a Junin after all, and with the combined efforts of the 3 of them, they withstood Chen Tian's attack. After the ninjutsus such as the earth flow wall and the water flow wall are cancelled, 3 miniature-tailed beast jade will come face to face. Because the chakra was used up, Chenshin's 3 shadow clones disappeared at the same time. But he didn't care at all. Even the miniature-tailed beast jade was not so easy to resist. Otherwise, why would the Jinchuriki be called a war weapon? Boom, boom, boom. Successive explosions sounded. Because they were carelessly bombarded by Chen Tian's continuous attacks, the 12 ninjas could only defend themselves and were completely unable to resist. Under the miniature-tailed beast jade, 9 Chunin died on the spot without even struggling. On the contrary, the 3 Junin were quite capable and each used their own methods to survive. But before they could recover, Chen Tian's figure had already appeared in front of them, the thunder in his hands whizzed by, and the 2 heads fell directly to the ground. How is it possible? You are not a Jinchuriki, so why can you release the tailed beast? The remaining Junin was probably the leader of these people, and he actually dodged Chen Tian's attacks twice in a row. It's just that he was still surprised by the tailed beast jade thing, and he hadn't come back to his senses yet. It can be seen that this incident had a huge impact on him. Chen Tian curled his lips, couldn't he say something else? Everyone who sees him releasing the tailed beast Tama must say at once, boring. Having said that, the attack in Chenshin's hand did not relax at all. When the Junin avoided Reikiri, he had already received a new attack. Strange punch. Chakra flowed in his right hand, and before the Junin could stand still, he hit his head with a fist. Bang! Just like a watermelon exploding, this Jonin's head also exploded. This is the role of the first mover. In order to avoid the initial attack, they can only run passively until they are all killed by Chen Tian. However, all this is based on the fact that Chen Shan is stronger than them, otherwise even if they have the upper hand, it will have no effect. Chen Shan is still very satisfied with his victory. Now that the enemies are dead, it's time to harvest cards. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.